The sleek, iridescent hull of the Zarthian cruiser Nebula Seeker glimmered against the Inkai backdrop of space as it approached the blue marble of Earth. Captain Zylna, her forearms deftly manipulating the ship's controls, felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. This was to be a routine diplomatic mission, yet the disappearance of 999 ships before them weighed heavily on her mind. "Status report," she commanded, her voice steady despite the tension crackling through the bridge. "All systems nominal, Captain," replied her second-in-command, Vex. "We're entering Earth's upper atmosphere in 3 cycles." Suddenly, the ship shuddered violently. Alarms blared as consoles flickered and died. Zylna's eyes widened in horror as she watched the energy readings spike off the charts. "What's happening?" she shouted over the cacophony of warning signals. "Unknown energy signature detected," cried the science officer, his tentacles frantically working multiple interfaces. "It's unlike anything we've ever encountered." The ship's hull groaned under immense stress. Outside the viewports, reality itself seemed to warp and twist. Crew members scrambled to their stations, desperately trying to regain control of the failing systems. "Send out a distress signal," Zylna ordered, her usual composure crumbling. "Communications are down," Vex yelled back, panic evident in his multifaceted eyes. "We're cut off from the fleet." The Nebula Seeker began to disintegrate before their very eyes. Zylna watched in disbelief as her crew members started to fade, their bodies becoming translucent and then vanishing entirely. She felt a strange tingling sensation spreading through her own body. "No, this can't be happening," she whispered, staring at her disappearing hands. In the span of mere moments, the mighty Zarthian cruiser and its entire crew evaporated into nothingness, leaving no trace of their existence. The stars twinkled indifferently, bearing silent witness to yet another inexplicable vanishing. Back on Earth, in a top-secret monitoring station, a grim-faced technician turned to his superior. "Sir, we've lost contact with the Zarthian ship. It's gone." The room fell into a heavy silence as the implications sank in. 1,000 ships had now disappeared without a trace. The senior officer's voice was barely above a whisper as he voiced the question that would haunt galaxies for years to come. What force could make an advanced civilization's ships vanish without a trace? Jake slouched over the grimy bar counter, his once pristine Earth Defense Force uniform now a tattered reminder of his fall from grace. The flickering holo screen above him buzzed with static before clearing to reveal a solemn-faced news anchor. Jake's bloodshot eyes widened as he registered the words scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Earth declared no-go zone after 1,000 ship vanishes. "Turn it up," he growled at the bartender, a green-skinned Andromdan who complied with a disapproving click of his mandibles. "Unprecedented decision by the Galactic Council," the anchor's voice filled the dingy bar. "Earth and its surrounding space have been officially designated as a no-go zone following the disappearance of the Zarthian diplomatic vessel Nebula Seeker. This marks the 1,000th ship to vanish without a trace in Earth's vicinity over the past standard year." Jake's hand tightened around his glass, knuckles turning white. He knew this day would come, but the reality of it still hit him like a plasma blast to the chest. The news continued. All interstellar travel to and from Earth has been suspended indefinitely. The quarantine extends to a radius of 2 light-years around the Sol system. Any vessels attempting to breach this zone will be considered in violation of galactic law and subject to immediate. The words faded into background noise as Jake's mind raced. Memories he'd tried to drown in cheap synthanol came flooding back, the classified briefings, the covert operations, the terrible choice he'd been forced to make. "Hey, Earthling," a gruff voice interrupted his thoughts. Jake turned to see a burly Rigelian eyeing him suspiciously. "This your people's doing? What the hell is going on down there?" Jake stood up slowly, his hand instinctively moving to where his sidearm used to be. "I don't know any more than you do, pal. I haven't been home in years." The Rigelian snorted in disbelief. "Right, and I'm a Venusian swamp fairy. You Edith types always know more than you let on." XFY, Jake corrected, his voice low and dangerous. And trust me, you don't want to know what I know. The tension in the bar was palpable as other patrons turned to watch the confrontation. Jake could feel their eyes on him, a mix of curiosity and hostility. Suddenly, the holo screen flickered again, this time showing footage of protest erupting across various worlds. Aliens of all species were demanding answers, some calling for a full-scale invasion of Earth to uncover the truth. Jake's stomach churned. If they only knew the reality, they'd be running in the opposite direction. Last call for the shuttle to Proxima Centauri, a robotic voice announced over the station's comm system. Jake made a split-second decision. I'm out of here, he muttered, tossing a handful of universal credits on the counter and shouldering past the Rigelian. As he hurried through the station's winding corridors, Jake's mind raced. The secret he carried was eating him alive. He had been part of a classified HFY project codenamed Pandora's Shield, an experimental defense system designed to protect Earth from any potential alien threats. But something had gone horribly wrong during the final test. The shield didn't just deflect incoming objects, it caused them to vanish entirely, transported to somewhere else. Jake had been the one to discover this glitch, but his superiors saw it as a feature, not a bug. When he threatened to go public, they branded him a traitor and forced him into exile. Now, 1,000 ships later, the consequences of their actions had finally caught up with them. Jake reached the shuttle bay, his heart pounding. He knew he couldn't run forever. Sooner or later, someone would connect the dots, and he'd be the most wanted man in the galaxy. As he boarded the shuttle, a plan began to form in his mind. He couldn't undo what had been done, but maybe, just maybe, he could find a way to fix it. Earth needed him, whether they knew it or not. The shuttle's engines roared to life, and Jake strapped himself in. As the space station receded into the distance, he made a silent vow. He would find a way back to Earth, disable Pandora's shield, and reveal the truth to the galaxy or die trying. Little did Jake know, his journey would uncover secrets far darker and more terrifying than he could have ever imagined, secrets that would shake the very foundations of the universe itself. Jake's eyes glazed over as the shuttle's hyperdrive engaged, the familiar lurch of faster-than-light travel sending him spiraling into memories he'd fought hard to suppress. 5 years earlier, Earth Defense Force Headquarters, Luna Base. Captain Harper, you have a go for Operation Starfall? Commander Reeves's voice crackled through the comm. Jake acknowledged, his heart racing with a mix of excitement and apprehension. This was to be the crowning achievement of his career, overseeing the final test of Pandora's shield. Jake's fighter, sleek and state-of-the-art, glided out of the lunar hangar. 24 other HFY pilots formed up behind him, ready to simulate an alien invasion force. Their mission, to test the limits of Earth's new defensive technology. As they approached the invisible barrier surrounding Earth, Jake couldn't shake a feeling of unease. Something about the project had always felt off, but he'd chalked it up to the usual secrecy surrounding top-level military operations. All units, commence attack pattern Delta, Jake ordered, watching as his squadron split into pre-arranged formations. They charged towards Earth, weapons armed but set to minimum power for the simulation. The first signs of trouble came moments later. "Captain, I'm picking up some strange readings," his wingman, Lieutenant Chen, reported. "The shield's energy signature is fluctuating wildly." Before Jake could respond, a brilliant flash of light erupted in front of them. He instinctively closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, his blood ran cold. 3 fighters from the Vanguard had vanished. "Control, we've lost contact with Echo Team," Jake reported, struggling to keep his voice steady. "Request immediate abort of the mission." Static was his only reply. "All units, fall back," Jake ordered, but it was too late. The strange energy field expanded rapidly, engulfing more of his squadron. Ships didn't explode or break apart, they simply ceased to exist, leaving not even debris behind. In a panic, Jake threw his fighter into a series of evasive maneuvers. His cockpit instruments went haywire, alarms blaring as reality itself seemed to warp around him. Through the chaos, he caught glimpses of something. Shapes that didn't belong, geometries that hurt his mind to perceive. For a split second, Jake could have sworn he saw a massive eye staring back at him from the void. Then, as suddenly as it began, it was over. Jake found himself alone in space, his squadron gone, the Earth serenely blue below him as if nothing had happened. When he landed at Luna Base, Jake was immediately taken into custody. The debriefing lasted for days, with increasingly hostile interrogators accusing him of everything from incompetence to sabotage. "You expect us to believe that 23 fighters just disappeared?" Colonel Vance sneered, slamming his fist on the table. "And this nonsense about impossible shapes and giant eyes. You're either crazy or covering something up, Harper." "I'm telling you the truth," Jake insisted, his voice hoarse from hours of repeating his story. "Check the sensor logs, the black box recordings." "All corrupted," Vance cut him off. "The only data we have is from Earth-based observations, which show nothing out of the ordinary. Just a successful test of our planetary defense system." Jake's mind reeled. How could they deny what had happened? Unless— "You knew," he whispered, the horrifying realization dawning on him. "You knew this could happen, and you sent us in anyway." The colonel's face hardened. "You're dismissed, Captain. As of this moment, you're suspended from duty pending a full psychiatric evaluation." What followed was a nightmare of hearings, accusations, and character assassinations. Jake's spotless record was torn to shreds as he was painted as an unstable, paranoid liability. Former friends and colleagues turned their backs on him, unwilling or unable to believe his incredible story. In the end, Jake was dishonorably discharged, his reputation in tatters. But the worst part wasn't losing his career, it was the gnawing certainty that something terribly wrong was happening, and he was powerless to stop it. The shuttle emerged from hyperspace, jolting Jake back to the present. He blinked, disoriented, as a massive space station loomed before him. Proxima Centauri's red dwarf star cast an eerie glow on the structure. As the shuttle docked, Jake steeled himself. He was done running. Whatever horrors Pandora's shield had unleashed, whatever cosmic terror lurked behind that impossible eye, he would find a way to expose the truth and make it right. Little did Jake know, his arrival at the station had not gone unnoticed. In the shadows, a figure watched, its inhuman eyes gleaming with interest. The game was about to change, and Jake Harper would be at the center of a conflict that would determine the fate of not just Earth, but the entire universe. As Jake stepped off the shuttle into the bustling Proxima Centauri station, the cacophony of alien languages and the pungent mix of extraterrestrial scents assaulted his senses. He pulled his worn jacket tighter, trying to blend in with the diverse crowd of interstellar travelers and merchants. He had barely taken a dozen steps when a slender, silvery hand touched his shoulder. Jake spun around, instincts honed from years of combat training kicking in. Before him stood a selenite, its crystalline body refracting the station's harsh, lighting into a dazzling array of colors. Its faceted eyes regarded Jake with an unsettling intensity. "Jake Harper," the selenite's voice resonated in Jake's mind rather than his ears. "I am Ambassador Zyrex. We need to talk." Jake's hand instinctively moved towards the concealed blaster he'd managed to smuggle on board. "How do you know my name?" Zyrex's crystalline form shimmered, an approximation of a placating gesture. "Please, there's no need for weapons. I'm here to offer you an opportunity, one that could clear your name and potentially save countless lives." Curiosity overrode Jake's caution. He nodded towards a secluded alcove away from the main concourse. "You've got 5 minutes." Once relatively private, Zyrex spoke again, its mental voice tinged with urgency. "The Galactic Council is in chaos. The quarantine around Earth has destabilized entire economies, and the disappearances have sparked interspecies conflicts. We're on the brink of a galactic war." Jake's jaw clenched. "And what does this have to do with me?" "Everything," Zyrex replied. "You're the only one who's witnessed the anomaly and survived. Your experience, combined with your insider knowledge of Earth's defenses, makes you uniquely qualified to help us solve this mystery." Jake laughed bitterly. "Help you? The last time I tried to tell the truth, I lost everything. Why should I trust you?" The selenite's crystalline form pulsed with what Jake interpreted as empathy. "Because unlike your superiors, we believe you. More than that, we have evidence that corroborates parts of your story." This caught Jake's attention. "What kind of evidence?" Zyrex produced a small holographic projector. An image flickered to life, a massive, otherworldly eye, just like the one Jake had glimpsed during that fateful mission. "This was captured by a long-range quantum telescope in the Andromeda Galaxy," Zyrex explained. "It appeared for just a fraction of a second, in the exact location where the Zarthian ship vanished." Jake's blood ran cold. It wasn't a hallucination, it was real. "There's more," Zyrex continued. "We've detected quantum entanglement signatures linking the disappearances to something else, something beyond our universe." The implications made Jake's head spin. "Are you saying that your Pandora's shield isn't just a defensive measure?" Zyrex finished. "We believe it's a gateway, Mr. Harper, a gateway to somewhere we were never meant to go." Jake slumped against the wall, the weight of this revelation threatening to crush him. "What do you want from me?" "Join our task force," Zyrex said. "Help us understand what's happening and find a way to stop it. In return, we'll clear your name and ensure your story is heard across the galaxy." Jake's mind raced. This was his chance at redemption, but more than that, it was an opportunity to right the wrongs he'd been complicit in. Yet doubt nagged at him. "Why me?" he asked. "Surely you have more qualified experts." Zyrex's mental voice took on a grave tone. "Because, Mr. Harper, we believe you've been marked. Your encounter with the anomaly changed you in ways we don't yet understand. You might be our only hope of communicating with whatever lies on the other side." As if to emphasize the point, Jake felt a strange tingling sensation in his left arm, the same arm that had brushed against the energy field during his escape 5 years ago. He'd always attributed the occasional numbness to nerve damage, but now— "If I agree," Jake said slowly, "I have conditions. Full access to all your data, no more secrets. And if we find a way to save those ships and their crews, that's our priority." Zyrex's crystalline form brightened. "Agreed. Welcome aboard, Mr. Harper." As they shook hands, Jake's calloused fingers meeting Zyrex's cool, faceted appendage, neither noticed the shadowy figure watching from afar, its form shifting and writhing in ways that defied physical laws. The watcher sent a thought across vast, impossible distances. The opener has been found. The convergence begins. In that moment, as Jake took his first step towards unraveling the cosmic mystery, the fate of not just Earth, but all of reality, hung in the balance. The true nature of Pandora's shield, and the horrors it had unleashed, were about to be revealed, and nothing in Jake's training could have prepared him for what was to come. Jake paced the small conference room aboard the Selenite diplomatic vessel, his mind a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. Ambassador Zyrex stood motionless, patiently awaiting his decision. "Let me get this straight," Jake said, running a hand through his unkempt hair. "You want me to sneak back onto a planet that's been declared off-limits by the Galactic Council, potentially face whatever cosmic horror is making ships disappear, and somehow fix a defense system that I barely understood when I was part of the team that built it?" Zyrex's crystalline form shimmered in what Jake had come to recognize as amusement. "When you put it that way, it does sound rather daunting." Jake snorted. "Daunting? It's suicide." "And yet," Zyrex countered, "you haven't said no." Jake fell silent. The ambassador was right. Despite the dangers, despite the bitter memories of betrayal and exile, a part of him yearned to return, to set things right. "If I do this," Jake said slowly, "I have conditions." Zyrex nodded. "Name them." "First, I want a full pardon. Not just from Earth, but recognized by the Galactic Council. My name cleared across every star system." Done, Zyrex agreed without hesitation. Second, I choose my own team. No political appointees, no hidden agendas. I need people I can trust. The Selenite's mental voice carried a note of approval. Wise. We'll provide dossiers on potential candidates from various species. Jake took a deep breath before stating his final condition. If we find a way to rescue the people from the vanished ships, that becomes our top priority, no matter what. Zyrex was silent for a moment, its faceted eyes unreadable. Finally, it responded, agreed, with one caveat. If the fate of the galaxy is at stake, we may need to make difficult choices. Jake nodded grimly. He understood the weight of such decisions all too well. Now, Zyrex said, its tone brightening, let me show you the tools we've prepared for your mission. The ambassador led Jake to an adjacent laboratory where a team of alien scientists from various species worked feverishly. On a central pedestal lay what looked like a sleek, black wetsuit. This is a quantum flux suit, Zyrex explained. It's designed to protect you from the spatial distortions we've detected around Earth. It also has some unique properties that may prove useful. Jake ran his hand over the material, feeling it respond to his touch like a living thing. What kind of properties? It can adapt to various environments, render you virtually invisible to most detection systems, and… Zyrex paused for effect. It may allow you to interact with the anomalies in ways we don't yet understand. Jake's eyes widened. You're saying it could let me communicate with whatever's on the other side of the vanishings? Theoretically, yes, Zyrex confirmed. But be warned, Mr. Harper. The suit connects to your nervous system. The sensations and experiences may be intense. Next, they moved to a weapons rack holding devices Jake had never seen before. Phase-shifted plasma weapons, Zyrex explained, capable of affecting both normal matter and the quantum anomalies we've detected. As Jake examined the alien weaponry, a thought occurred to him. How exactly am I supposed to get past Earth's defenses? I'm assuming Pandora's shield is still active. Zyrex's mental voice took on a hint of pride. With this, a holographic display sprang to life, showing a sleek, almost predatory-looking spacecraft. Its hull seemed to shimmer and shift, as if it wasn't fully present in reality. The Shadow Dancer, Zyrex announced. A prototype stealth ship utilizing technology reverse-engineered from the quantum anomalies themselves. It should be able to slip past the shield undetected. Jake whistled, impressed despite himself. When do we leave? Now, Zyrex replied. Your team is already assembled and waiting aboard the Shadow Dancer. Time is of the essence, Mr. Harper. The next few hours passed in a blur of preparations and briefings. Jake met his eclectic team, a Zarthian quantum physicist, a rogue AI housed in a robotic body, and a shape-shifting Arcturian spy. Each brought unique skills to the mission, and Jake found himself cautiously optimistic about their chances. As Jake donned the quantum flux suit, he felt it meld to his body, a second skin humming with potential. The sensation was both exhilarating and terrifying. Finally, standing in the airlock of the Shadow Dancer, Jake took one last look at the bustling space station. He thought of all he'd lost, all that was at stake, and the impossible task ahead. Ready for departure, Captain Harper, the ship's AI announced. Jake took a deep breath, squaring his shoulders. Let's go save the world. The airlock hissed shut, and the Shadow Dancer detached from the station. As they accelerated towards Earth, Jake felt a familiar mix of anticipation and dread. The planet that had been his home, then his downfall, now held the key to the galaxy's survival. As the blue marble of Earth grew larger in the viewscreen, Jake's heart raced. Whatever cosmic horrors awaited them, whatever truths lay hidden behind Pandora's shield, he was determined to face them head-on. Little did Jake know, forces beyond his comprehension were already aware of his approach. In the quantum realm between realities, ancient entities stirred, their unfathomable minds focused on the tiny ship carrying the key to their long-awaited liberation. The stage was set for a confrontation that would determine the fate of not just Earth, but the very fabric of the universe itself. The Shadow Dancer glided silently through the void, its quantum-shifted hull rendering it nearly invisible to conventional sensors. Jake sat in the captain's chair, his fingers dancing over holographic controls as he guided the ship towards Earth's orbit. "Approaching outer defense perimeter," announced Area, the ship's AI. Her holographic avatar, a shimmering blue humanoid figure, materialized beside Jake. Pandora's shield activation detected. Jake nodded grimly. "Initiate stealth protocols. Let's see if this ship is as good as Zyrix claimed." The Zarthian physicist, Dr. Kelnar, hunched over her console. "Captain, I'm detecting unusual quantum fluctuations. The shield's energy signature is evolving." "Evolving? What do you mean?" Jake asked, a knot forming in his stomach. Before Kelnar could respond, the view screen lit up with a dazzling display of colors that shouldn't exist in normal space. Reality itself seemed to warp and twist around them. "By the cosmic egg," breathed Zix, the Arcturian spy, their form rippling with agitation. "What is that?" Jake's blood ran cold as he recognized the patterns. They were eerily similar to what he'd seen during his last mission. "It's them," he whispered. "Whatever's on the other side of the vanishings." The ship shuddered as it passed through the outer layer of Pandora's shield. Alarms blared, warning of spatial distortions and quantum instabilities. "Hull integrity at 92% and falling," Area reported, her calm voice a stark contrast to the chaos around them. "Recommend immediate evasive action." Jake's hands flew over the controls, guiding the Shadow Dancer through a series of complex maneuvers. The ship danced between shimmering veils of energy and pockets of warped space-time. "There!" Dr. Kelnar shouted, pointing at a gap in the swirling maelstrom. "A weakness in the shield's matrix." Jake didn't hesitate. He pushed the ship's engines to their limit, aiming for the narrow opening. As they shot through, the Shadow Dancer groaned under the strain of conflicting physical laws. For a moment, Jake's vision blurred. He could have sworn he saw impossible geometries and writhing tentacles just at the edge of perception. A deep, primal fear gripped him, and he felt the quantum flux suit tighten around his body, as if responding to his distress. Then, as suddenly as it began, the chaos subsided. They were through the shield, Earth's blue-green orb filling the viewscreen. "We made it," Zix said, their voice filled with awe and relief. Jake allowed himself a small smile. "Don't celebrate yet. We still need to land undetected." As if on cue, Area's avatar flickered. "Warning, shield passage has compromised several key systems. Stealth capabilities are offline." "What?" Jake's hands flew over the controls, trying to reroute power. "Can we fix it?" The ship's robotic crew member, a repurposed maintenance droid named Gears, rolled forward. "Negative, Captain. The quantum fluctuations have fused several critical components. Repairs are impossible without a full dry dock overhaul." Jake's mind raced. They were now visible to Earth's defenses, sitting ducks in hostile territory. "Area, what's our status?" "Multiple Earth Defense Force ships detected on an intercept course," the AI reported. "Estimated time to engagement, 3 minutes. "Options?" Jake asked, looking around at his team. Dr. Kelnar spoke up, her tentacles waving excitedly. "The atmosphere, if we can reach it quickly enough, the ionization from re-entry might mask our signature." It was risky, but they were out of alternatives. "Plot a course, steepest angle of entry you can calculate without tearing us apart," Jake ordered. The Shadow Dancer banked sharply, accelerating towards Earth's atmosphere. Behind them, EDF ships launched salvos of warning shots, energy beams slicing through the space they just vacated. As they hit the upper atmosphere, the ship began to glow red-hot. Warnings blared across every console as the hull temperature skyrocketed. "Hull integrity at 60% and falling," Area announced, her voice distorting. "Captain, we're coming in too steep." Jake gritted his teeth. fighting the controls as the ship bucked and shuddered. Reroute all non-essential power to the structural integrity field. The viewscreen was a wall of fire now, the roar of re-entry drowning out all other sounds. Jake could feel the quantum flux suit tightening around him, almost painfully, as if trying to protect him from the mounting G-forces. Suddenly, a massive tremor rocked the ship. Sparks flew from consoles, and the lights flickered ominously. "Engine failure," Gears shouted over the cacophony. "We've lost primary power." The shadow dancer began to tumble, spinning out of control as it plummeted towards the Earth's surface. Warning klaxons blared, and emergency lights bathed the bridge in an eerie red glow. Jake struggled to remain conscious as the G-forces threatened to black him out. Through blurred vision, he saw the rapidly approaching ground on the viewscreen. Forests, mountains, and then a vast expanse of water rushed towards them. With his last ounce of strength, Jake managed to rasp out an order: "Brace for impact." As the ship plunged towards the ocean below, Jake's mind flashed to the cosmic horrors he'd glimpsed, the impossible mission ahead, and the fate of countless vanished souls hanging in the balance. He'd made it back to Earth, but at what cost? And what unfathomable challenges awaited them if they survived this crash? The ocean rushed up to meet them, and everything went black. Jake's consciousness flickered back to life, his head pounding and every muscle screaming in protest. The acrid smell of smoke and ozone filled his nostrils as he blinked, trying to focus on his surroundings. The quantum flux suit hummed against his skin, its nanomaterials undoubtedly responsible for his survival. "Status report," he croaked, his voice barely above a whisper. Silence greeted him. The ship's interior was dark, save for the occasional spark from damaged circuitry. Jake fumbled with his harness, finally freeing himself from the captain's chair. "Area? Gears? Anyone?" he called out, louder this time. A weak blue glow emanated from a crumpled heap nearby. Aria's avatar flickered to life, her form distorted and glitching. "Captain Harper. Systems critical. Emergency protocols activated." Jake stumbled towards the ship's exit, his legs unsteady. "Where are the others?" "Life signs detected. Escape pods launched prior to impact," Aria stuttered before her avatar winked out. Relief washed over Jake. His team had a chance, at least. He'd have to find them later. For now, he needed to assess their situation and find a safe haven. The ship's airlock groaned as Jake forced it open, letting in a rush of damp, cool air. He stepped out onto what should have been a beach, given their ocean crash, but instead found himself standing on cracked pavement. The shadow dancer had plowed through several buildings before coming to rest in what appeared to be a city square. As Jake's eyes adjusted to the dim light, he felt a chill run down his spine. This was no ordinary abandoned city. The buildings around him were a mix of familiar Earth architecture and impossible structures that seemed to defy physics. Skyscrapers twisted into Möbius strip-like configurations, their windows dark and lifeless. Streets curved upward, looping back on themselves in gravity-defying arcs. "What the hell happened here?" Jake muttered, his hand instinctively moving to the phase-shifted plasma pistol at his hip. He began to walk, his footsteps echoing unnaturally in the empty streets. Vegetation had begun to reclaim parts of the city, but even the plants seemed wrong. Vines with translucent, pulsing leaves wrapped around lampposts. Trees bore fruit that glowed with an inner light, casting eerie shadows. As Jake turned a corner, he froze. Before him stood a massive statue, at least 30 feet tall. It depicted a human figure, but twisted and elongated, its features a blend of ecstasy and agony. The statue's eyes were carved to look directly at the viewer, no matter the angle, and Jake could have sworn they followed him as he moved. At the base of the statue, an inscription read, "To the openers of the way, our gratitude is eternal." Jake's blood ran cold. "Openers of the way," he whispered. The phrase tickled something in his memory, but before he could grasp it, a distant sound caught his attention. It was music faint, discordant, and utterly alien. It seemed to be coming from all directions at once, growing louder with each passing moment. The quantum flux suit tightened around Jake's body, as if sensing a threat. Suddenly, movement caught his eye. Shadows danced across the walls of nearby buildings, cast by no discernible source. They twisted into impossible shapes, vaguely humanoid one moment, then stretching into tentacled abominations the next. Jake broke into a run, his heart pounding. He needed to find cover, to regroup and try to make sense of this transformed world. As he ran, he passed more signs of a civilization irrevocably changed. Cars fused with the road, their metal flowing like liquid. Billboards advertised products that couldn't possibly exist, with slogans in languages that hurt his eyes to read. Finally, Jake spotted a building that looked relatively normal, an old library, its stone facade weathered but intact. He ducked inside, slamming the door behind him. Panting, he leaned against the door, trying to calm his racing thoughts. What had happened to Earth? Where were all the people? And what were those shadow creatures? As his eyes adjusted to the dimness of the library, Jake realized he wasn't alone. Seated at a reading table, by a shaft of sickly green light from a broken window, was a figure. It appeared human at first glance, but as Jake looked closer, he noticed something off about its proportions. The figure slowly turned to face him, and Jake had to stifle a scream. Where its face should have been was a swirling vortex of colors, like a miniature galaxy. "Welcome back, Opener," the figure spoke, its voice resonating directly in Jake's mind. "We've been expecting you." Jake raised his weapon, his hand shaking. "What are you? What's happened to Earth?" The figure's face swirled faster. "Earth has evolved, Jake Harper. Thanks to Pandora's shield, we have begun the great merging. Your world is becoming one with ours." As the implications of those words sank in, Jake realized the true horror of what he'd helped unleash. Pandora's shield wasn't just making ships disappear, it was transforming reality itself. And somehow, he was the key to it all. The figure stood, its form shifting and stretching in ways that defied comprehension. "Come, Opener, let us show you the glorious future you've helped create." Jake backed away, his mind reeling. He had returned to Earth to save it, but he now faced a threat beyond his wildest nightmares. As the transformed being advanced, Jake knew his real mission was just beginning, and the fate of not just Earth, but all of reality, hung in the balance. Jake's finger tensed on the trigger of his phase-shifted plasma pistol, his mind racing to process the otherworldly being before him. Just as he was about to fire, a voice rang out from the shadows of the library. "Don't shoot, it'll only make them stronger." A figure darted out from behind a bookshelf, moving with inhuman speed. In a blur of motion, the newcomer grabbed Jake's arm and pulled him towards a hidden door behind a toppled filing cabinet. "This way, quickly," the voice urged, unmistakably female and tinged with desperation. Jake hesitated for a split second, glancing back at the entity with the galactic face. Its form was now rippling, expanding to fill the room. Making a split-second decision, Jake allowed himself to be led through the concealed passage. They ran through a maze of corridors, the sounds of pursuit echoing behind them. Finally, they emerged in what appeared to be an old subway station, long abandoned and partially flooded. As they caught their breath, Jake got his first good look at his rescuer. She was young, perhaps in her mid-20s, with close-cropped hair and eyes that seemed to shift color in the dim light. Most strikingly, faint lines of bioluminescence pulsed beneath her skin, tracing intricate patterns. "Thanks for the save," Jake said, still wary. "I'm Jake. Who are you, and what the hell is going on here?" The woman regarded him curiously. "I'm Zara, and you're different. You're not from here, are you? At least, not anymore." Jake nodded. "I've been gone for years. Came back to try and fix things, but clearly, I'm late to the party." Zara's eyes widened. "You're from before the merge? That explains the old tech weapon. It won't do much good against the entities." "Entities? You mean that thing back there?" Jake asked. Zara nodded grimly. "They came through when Pandora's shield malfunctioned. or worked too well, depending on how you look at it. Reality started blending. Most people couldn't handle it. They either went mad or became like that thing you saw. Jake's mind reeled. But you survived. How? A sad smile played across Zara's lips. Some of us adapted, changed. She held up her hand, and the bioluminescent lines glowed brighter. Suddenly, a small ball of swirling energy appeared above her palm. We gained abilities. Quantum manipulation, phase shifting, things science can't explain. But it came at a cost. As if to demonstrate, Zara's form flickered for a moment, becoming translucent before solidifying again. We're not fully here anymore. Part of us exists in the space between realities. Jake was about to respond when a low rumble shook the station. Dust and debris rained down from the ceiling. "They're coming," Zara said, her voice tight with fear. "We need to move." As they made their way deeper into the tunnels, Jake filled Zara in on his mission and the team he'd arrived with. Zara listened intently, her expression a mix of hope and skepticism. "So you think you can reverse this?" she asked. "Put the genie back in the bottle?" Jake shrugged. "I don't know, but I have to try. First, though, I need to find my team and figure out exactly what we're dealing with." Zara was quiet for a moment, then said, "I might be able to help with that. There's a place, a nexus point where realities intersect. If your friends survived the crash, they might have been drawn there." "Great," Jake said. "Lead the way." They had only gone a few hundred meters when the tunnel ahead of them began to warp and twist. The air shimmered with unnatural colors, and that same discordant music Jake had heard earlier filled the air. Zara hissed, "Reality storm. We can't go that way." Jake looked around frantically. "What are our options?" Zara's eyes darted about, then settled on a maintenance hatch in the tunnel wall. "There. It's risky, but it might be our only choice." As they pried open the hatch, Jake saw that it led not to a maintenance tunnel, but to a swirling vortex of energy. "What is that?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "A quantum slipstream," Zara explained. "It's how some of us move around now. But for someone not attuned to the new reality, it could be unpredictable." The rumbling grew louder, and tendrils of otherworldly energy began to seep into the tunnel behind them. "Unpredictable is better than certain death," Jake said grimly. "How do we do this?" Zara grabbed his hand, her touch sending a jolt of energy through him. "Hold on tight, focus on staying with me, and whatever you do, don't let go." With that, she pulled them both into the vortex. Jake felt his body stretching, his consciousness expanding to fill impossible spaces. Colors he'd never seen before assaulted his senses, and for a moment, he thought he glimpsed other versions of Earth, some thriving, some dead, some utterly alien. Through it all, he clung to Zara's hand like a lifeline. Her bioluminescent patterns glowed brightly, creating a protective cocoon around them as they hurtled through the quantum slipstream. As they traveled, Jake realized the quantum flux suit was responding to the environment, adapting in ways he didn't understand. He felt a deep connection forming not just to Zara, but to the very fabric of this transformed reality. Just when Jake thought he couldn't take any more, they burst out of the slipstream, tumbling onto solid ground. As his vision cleared, Jake found himself staring at a sight that defied comprehension. Before them stood a massive structure, a fusion of advanced technology and organic matter. It pulsed with energy, and at its center, a swirling portal crackled with power. "Welcome to the Nexus," Zara said, her voice filled with awe and fear. "If your friends are anywhere, they'll be here. But be warned, Jake. This is where all realities converge. What we find inside might change everything you thought you knew about your mission, your past, and the very nature of existence itself." As they approached the Nexus, Jake steeled himself for whatever lay ahead. He had come to save Earth, but now he realized the stakes were far higher than he could have ever imagined. With Zara by his side, he was about to plunge into the heart of a cosmic mystery that threatened not just one world, but all of reality. Jake and Zara stood at the entrance of the Nexus, its pulsating energy casting an eerie glow on their faces. Before they could take another step, a bone-chilling howl echoed through the air, followed by the sound of multiple heavy footfalls approaching rapidly. "Damn it," Zara hissed, her bioluminescent patterns flaring with agitation. "Merge hounds, we need to move, now." As if on cue, a pack of monstrosities burst into view. They resembled wolves, but their bodies were a horrifying fusion of flesh, metal, and swirling energy. Their eyes glowed with an unnatural intelligence, and tendrils of quantum energy trailed behind them like spectral tails. "Run!" Jake shouted, grabbing Zara's hand and sprinting away from the nexus. They tore through the transformed landscape, leaping over twisted metal and ducking under floating debris. The merge hounds gave chase, their howls distorting reality around them. "We can't outrun them forever," Zara panted. "We need a vehicle or something." Jake's eyes darted around frantically, searching for anything they could use. Suddenly, he spotted a glimmer of hope, a partially phased-out hoverbike, its form flickering between realities. "There," he pointed. "Can you stabilize that?" Zara nodded, understanding immediately. As they ran towards the bike, she reached out with her free hand, concentrating intensely. The quantum energy surrounding the hoverbike began to coalesce, its form solidifying. Jake leapt onto the bike, his hands finding the controls instinctively. The quantum flux suit hummed, interfacing with the vehicle's systems. "Get on," he yelled to Zara. She jumped on behind him, wrapping her arms around his waist just as the lead merge hound lunged at them. Jake gunned the engine, and the hoverbike shot forward, narrowly avoiding the creature's snapping jaws. They soared through the air, weaving between impossible structures and reality-warped obstacles. Jake's piloting skills, honed from years in the Earth Defense Force, were pushed to their limits as he navigated the ever-changing terrain. "They're still on us," Zara shouted over the wind. Jake glanced back to see the pack of merge hounds running on air, defying gravity as they pursued their prey. "Can you slow them down?" Zara nodded, turning to face their pursuers. She raised her hands, and streams of quantum energy shot from her fingertips. The air in front of the merge hounds began to warp and twist, creating a barrier of distorted space-time. Several of the creatures crashed into the barrier, their forms momentarily scattered across multiple realities before reforming. But the lead hounds pushed through, their determination unwavering. "It won't hold them for long," Zara warned. Jake gritted his teeth, pushing the hoverbike to its limits. They zipped through a series of floating islands, each one a fragment of a different version of Earth. One moment they were dodging traffic in a futuristic metropolis. The next they were weaving through the ruins of an ancient civilization. The merge hounds were gaining on them, their howls growing louder. Suddenly, Jake had an idea. "Zara, can you create a portal? Something small, just big enough for us to fit through." She looked at him, surprised. "Maybe, but I don't know where it would lead." "Doesn't matter," Jake said, a reckless grin spreading across his face. "Anywhere's better than here." Zara hesitated for a split second, then nodded. She stretched out her hand, focusing all her energy. The air in front of them began to ripple and tear, revealing a swirling vortex of quantum energy. "Hold on tight," Jake yelled, gunning the engine. They shot towards the portal at breakneck speed. Just as they were about to hit it, Jake pulled up hard on the controls, sending the hoverbike into a vertical climb. The merge hounds, unable to change direction as quickly, plunged into the portal, their howls fading as they vanished into the unknown. Jake brought the bike around in a tight loop, aiming for the rapidly closing portal. "Now or never," he shouted. They streaked through the closing gap, the edges of the portal grazing the hoverbike as it sealed shut behind them. For a moment, they were engulfed in a maelstrom of quantum energy, reality itself seeming to bend around them. Then, with a thunderous crack, they burst out into open air. The hoverbike's engines sputtered and died, overwhelmed by the transition. They began to fall, the ground rushing up to meet them. "Brace for impact," Jake yelled, wrapping his arms around Zara protectively. Seconds before they hit, Zara's bioluminescent patterns flared brilliantly. A cushion of quantum energy formed beneath them, slowing their descent. They hit the ground hard, tumbling off the bike and rolling across a field of blue-green grass that seemed to sing softly as it bent beneath them. As they came to a stop, Jake and Zara lay on their backs, panting heavily. The sky above them was a kaleidoscope of colors, with multiple suns and moons visible through swirling nebulae. That, Zara gasped, was either the bravest or stupidest thing I've ever seen. Jake chuckled, wincing as he sat up. In my experience, it's usually both. He looked around, taking in their new surroundings. Any idea where we are? Zara shook her head, her expression a mix of wonder and concern. No, but wherever it is, it's far from any Earth I've ever known. She turned to Jake, her eyes serious. We're in uncharted territory now. Whatever your mission was before, I think it just got a lot more complicated. Jake nodded grimly, the weight of their situation settling on him. They were lost in a reality they didn't understand, with no way back and no idea what dangers lurked in this alien world. But as he looked at Zara, seeing the determination in her eyes, he felt a glimmer of hope. "Well," he said, standing up and offering her his hand, "I guess we better start exploring. After all, the fate of all realities is counting on us." As they set off across the singing fields, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that their impromptu escape had set in motion events that would reshape the very fabric of existence. Whatever lay ahead, he was glad to have Zara by his side. Together, they would unravel the mysteries of the multiverse or die trying. As Jake and Zara trekked across the alien landscape, the singing grass gradually gave way to rocky terrain. The kaleidoscope sky darkened, and an eerie stillness settled over the land. "Something's not right," Zara murmured, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with unease. "This place, it feels familiar, but wrong." Jake nodded, his hand resting on his phase-shifted plasma pistol. "I know what you mean. It's like déjà vu, but twisted." They crested a hill and stopped short. Before them lay a vast crater, its edges smooth as if cut by a giant laser. At the center stood a structure that defied description, part building, part organic growth, and part swirling energy. "What is that?" Jake breathed, his eyes wide. Zara shook her head, her voice barely a whisper. "I don't know, but it's calling to me. Can you feel it?" Jake was about to respond when he felt it too, a subtle pull, like a whisper in his mind urging him forward. The quantum flux suit hummed against his skin, responding to the strange energy. "We should check it out," he said, his curiosity overriding his caution. "Whatever that thing is, it might have answers." They made their way down the crater's slope, the ground beneath their feet transitioning from rock to a material that seemed to shift between solid and liquid. As they approached the structure, sections of it became transparent, revealing glimpses of advanced technology and pulsating organic matter within. Suddenly, a doorway materialized before them, irising open with a soft hiss. Jake and Zara exchanged a glance before stepping inside. The interior was a maze of corridors that seemed to rearrange themselves as they walked. Holographic displays flickered to life, showing incomprehensible data streams and images of Earth in various stages of transformation. "This is incredible," Zara said, her fingers tracing lines of energy that flowed through the walls. "It's like a fusion of every advanced civilization that ever existed or could exist." Jake's attention was drawn to a central chamber. As they entered, the room came to life, holographic projections surrounding them in a dizzying array of information. "It's some kind of command center," Jake realized, his EDF training kicking in as he scanned the displays. "But for what?" Zara approached a console, her hands hovering over its surface. I think I can interface with it. The quantum energy here, it's similar to what I can manipulate." She closed her eyes, concentrating. The bioluminescent patterns on her skin flared brightly, and the console responded, information flooding the displays around them. Jake watched in awe as images of Earth's history flashed by, but not the history he knew. He saw ancient civilizations wielding technology far beyond their time, shadowy figures manipulating events from behind the scenes, and glimpses of otherworldly entities observing it all. "My God," he whispered. "Earth. It's always been more than we thought." Zara's eyes snapped open, her expression one of shock and disbelief. "Jake, this isn't just a bunker or a command center. It's a nexus point, a place where multiple timelines and realities converge." She waved her hand, and a three-dimensional model of Earth appeared before them. But this Earth was unlike anything Jake had ever seen. It pulsed with energy, its continents rearranged into impossible configurations, and at its core was a swirling vortex of quantum energy. "The transformation," Zara explained, her voice trembling. "It wasn't an accident or an invasion. It was inevitable. Earth is a linchpin in the multiverse, a focal point for all realities. What we're seeing is the planet's true form emerging." Jake's mind reeled as he tried to process this information. But the vanishing ships, Pandora's shield, was it all part of this plan? Zara nodded grimly. According to this data, Pandora's shield was never meant to be a defense system. It was a catalyst designed to accelerate Earth's transformation. The vanishing ships weren't destroyed. They were absorbed, their energy and matter used to fuel the change. A chill ran down Jake's spine as the full implications hit him. Then my mission, trying to reverse this, it was doomed from the start. "Not necessarily," Zara said, her eyes scanning rapidly over the data streams. "The transformation isn't complete. There's still a chance to guide it, to shape what Earth becomes. But we'd be playing with forces beyond our comprehension." Jake was about to respond when a new hologram appeared, a map of the transformed Earth, with pulsing points of light scattered across its surface. "What are those?" he asked, pointing to the lights. Zara's eyes widened. "They're us, or people like us, individuals who've adapted to the change, who can navigate between realities. And look," she pointed to a cluster of lights. "That's where we came from. Your team might be there." Excitement surged through Jake, but it was tempered by the weight of their discovery. He turned to Zara, his expression serious. "We need to find my team and show them what we've learned. But more than that, we need to decide what to do with this information. The fate of Earth of all realities could depend on our next move." Zara nodded, her face a mix of determination and fear. "I'm with you, Jake. Whatever comes next, we face it together." As they prepared to leave the bunker, Jake took one last look at the holographic Earth, its swirling energies both beautiful and terrifying. He had come to save his planet, but now he realized the truth was far more complex. Earth wasn't just transforming, it was becoming something greater, a nexus of all possible realities. The question now was, would they guide this transformation or try to stop it? And more importantly, were they prepared for the consequences of either choice? With these heavy thoughts, Jake and Zara stepped out of the bunker and into a world of infinite possibilities, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead in their quest to unravel the greatest mystery in the history of the multiverse. Jake and Zara delved deeper into the mysterious bunker, its corridors shifting and realigning as if guided by an unseen intelligence. The quantum flux suit hummed against Jake's skin, resonating with the energy permeating the structure. "This place," Jake murmured, running his hand along a wall that felt both organic and metallic, "it's like it's alive." Zara nodded, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing in sync with the bunker's energy. "I think it is, in a way. It's responding to our presence, maybe even our thoughts." They entered a vast chamber dominated by a holographic projection of Earth, but not the Earth Jake remembered. This version was scarred by massive impact craters and surrounded by a swarm of alien ships. "What are we looking at?" Jake asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Zara approached a nearby console, her fingers dancing over its surface as she interfaced with the bunker's systems. "It's a simulation. No, a memory. This is what Earth faced before the transformation." The hologram sprang to life, showing waves of alien invaders descending upon the planet. Earth's defenses, impressive as they were, crumbled under the onslaught. Cities fell, continents burned, and humanity teetered on the brink of extinction. "My God," Jake breathed, watching the devastation unfold. "When did this happen? Why don't I remember any of this?" Zara's eyes widened as she processed the incoming data. Because it didn't happen. Yet, Jake, this is the future Earth saw coming. The invasion that led to the creation of Pandora's shield. The hologram shifted, showing a group of scientists and military leaders huddled in a bunker, not unlike the one they stood in now. Jake recognized some of the faces top brass from the Earth Defense Force, brilliant minds from various scientific fields, and himself. "That's impossible," Jake stammered, staring at his doppelganger. "I was never part of this project." "You were," Zara said softly, "in another timeline. The bunker is showing us multiple realities, converging on a single point of decision." They watched as the holographic leaders debated furiously, desperation clear on their faces. Finally, a scientist stepped forward, presenting a radical plan. The hologram zoomed in on a device that looked like a more advanced version of Pandora's shield. "They called it the quantum nexus," Zara explained, her voice filled with awe and horror. "It wasn't just a shield, it was a reality manipulator. The plan was to use it to shift Earth into a parallel dimension, safe from the invasion." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "But something went wrong, didn't it?" Zara nodded grimly. "The quantum nexus was more powerful than they realized. Instead of simply moving Earth, it began to merge multiple versions of the planet across different timelines. The transformation we've seen, it's the result of countless Earths colliding and combining." The hologram showed the activation of the quantum nexus. At first, it seemed to work. The alien invasion fleet vanished, and Earth was safe. But then reality itself began to warp. Continents shifted, oceans rose and fell, and strange energies coursed across the planet's surface. "They tried to stop it," Zara continued, her voice barely above a whisper. "But the process had already begun. Earth wasn't just changing. It was evolving into a nexus point for all realities." Jake watched in horror as the holographic Earth twisted and warped, becoming the bizarre fusion of realities they'd encountered. "And the vanishing ships, the entities?" "Side effects," Zara explained. "The quantum nexus created areas of unstable space-time. Ships that wandered too close were pulled into other dimensions. And the entities, they're beings from those other realities, drawn to the power of the transforming Earth." Jake slumped against a nearby console, his mind reeling from the revelations. "So my mission, trying to fix things, was based on incomplete information," Zara finished. "The Earth Defense Force didn't understand the full scope of what was happening. They thought it was an invasion or a malfunction, not a fundamental restructuring of reality." A new hologram appeared, showing the current state of Earth, a swirling mass of quantum energy, multiple versions of the planet overlapping and merging. At its core pulsed the quantum nexus, now grown beyond its creator's wildest dreams. "We can't stop this, can we?" Jake asked, already knowing the answer. Zara shook her head. "No, but we might be able to guide it. The transformation isn't complete. The Earth is becoming a linchpin of the multiverse, a place where all realities intersect. What it becomes could determine the fate of not just our world, but all worlds." Jake stood up straight, a new determination filling him. "Then that's our new mission. We find my team, gather everyone who's adapted to this new reality, and we shape the future of Earth." As if responding to his words, the bunker hummed with energy. A new doorway appeared, leading to a chamber filled with advanced technology and swirling quantum energy. "Jake," Zara said, her eyes wide with excitement and fear, "I think the bunker is offering us a choice. We can leave now, try to find the others and muddle through on our own. Or we can accept whatever's through that door," Jake finished. "Probably gaining power we don't understand and responsibility we're not ready for." They stood in silence for a moment, the weight of the decision heavy upon them. Finally, Jake squared his shoulders and reached for Zara's hand. Together? He asked. Zara nodded, intertwining her fingers with his. Together. As they stepped through the doorway, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that they were crossing a point of no return. Whatever lay ahead would change them, change Earth, and perhaps change the very fabric of reality itself. The door sealed behind them, and the chamber came to life with pulsing energy. As the power of the quantum nexus flowed into them, Jake and Zara began their transformation into something more than human, the guardians of a new Earth, and the architects of a multiversal future. As Jake and Zara absorbed the energy of the quantum nexus, the chamber around them pulsed with an otherworldly light. Suddenly, the swirling energies coalesced into a holographic figure, a woman in her late 50s, her face etched with the weight of impossible decisions. "Greetings," the figure said, her voice echoing with an eerie resonance. "I am President Elena Vasquez, the last elected leader of the United Earth government. If you're seeing this message, it means Project Omega has been activated, and Earth, as we knew it, is no more." Jake and Zara exchanged glances, their newly enhanced senses allowing them to perceive layers of information embedded within the hologram. President Vasquez continued, her holographic form flickering with suppressed emotion. "In the face of an impending alien invasion that threatened to annihilate humanity, we were forced to make an unthinkable choice. Project Omega was our last, desperate attempt to save not just our world, but the very concept of Earth itself." The hologram expanded, showing scenes of a global conflict unlike anything in recorded history. Massive alien ships darkened the skies, their weapons capable of shattering continents. Earth's military forces fought valiantly, but were hopelessly outmatched. "Our scientists discovered something extraordinary," Vasquez explained. "Earth exists as a nexus point across multiple realities. In countless parallel universes, Earth has faced and overcome similar threats. Project Omega was designed to tap into this multiversal potential." The hologram shifted, displaying a complex machine that Jake recognized as an early version of Pandora's shield. This device, the quantum nexus, was meant to merge our Earth with its parallel counterparts, combining the knowledge, technology, and defensive capabilities of a million Earths into one. Jake felt a chill run down his spine as he realized the full implications. "They were trying to create a super Earth," he murmured. Zara nodded, her eyes wide. "A planet capable of defending itself against any threat, drawing on the collective strength of all possible Earths." President Vasquez's hologram looked directly at them, her eyes seeming to pierce through time itself. "We knew the risks. Merging realities on such a scale was unprecedented. But faced with certain extinction, we chose to gamble everything on Project Omega." The hologram showed the activation of the quantum nexus. At first, it seemed to work as intended. The alien invasion fleet was repelled, shattered by defenses beyond their comprehension. But then, reality itself began to warp. "The process proved unstable," Vasquez continued, her voice heavy with regret. "Instead of a controlled merge, we triggered a cascade effect. Earth began drawing in elements from not just parallel realities, but alternate dimensions, realms beyond human understanding." Jake and Zara watched in awe as the holographic Earth transformed, its geography shifting, new forms of matter and energy integrating into its very fabric. Cities rose and fell in the blink of an eye, entire continents reshaped themselves, and the laws of physics bent in ways that defied comprehension. "We tried to stop it," the president said, her holographic form showing signs of the chaos engulfing the world around her. But the process had gained a momentum of its own. Earth was no longer just our planet, it was becoming a fulcrum for all realities, a linchpin in the multiverse. The hologram zoomed out, showing Earth at the center of a vast, interconnected web of realities. Energy flowed to and from the planet, linking it to countless other worlds and dimensions. "To those who find this message," Vasquez said, her voice growing urgent, "you are now the inheritors of humanity's last gambit. Earth is transforming into something beyond our imagination, a world of infinite possibilities, but also infinite dangers." She leaned forward, her eyes blazing with intensity. "You must guide this transformation. Shape it. Ensure that whatever Earth becomes, it retains the essence of humanity. The fate of not just our world, but all worlds, rests in your hands." The hologram began to fade, but President Vasquez had one final message. "And beware," she warned, her voice growing distant. "We were not the only ones to discover Earth's multiversal significance. There are forces out there, ancient and powerful, that would seize control of what Earth is becoming. You must not let that happen, no matter the cost." With those ominous words, the hologram disappeared, leaving Jake and Zara standing in stunned silence. "So that's it," Jake said softly. "Earth wasn't attacked or invaded. It did this to itself." Zara nodded, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with agitation. Out of desperation and hope, they tried to save humanity by transforming the entire planet. Jake ran a hand through his hair, his mind reeling from the implications. "And now we're supposed to. What? Guide the evolution of an entire planet? Shape the future of the multiverse?" "I don't think we have a choice," Zara replied, her voice a mix of fear and determination. "Whatever Earth is becoming, it's clear we're part of it now. We have to see this through." As if in response to their words, the chamber around them hummed with renewed energy. Streams of quantum data flowed into their minds, granting them knowledge and abilities beyond human comprehension. Jake flexed his hand, watching as reality itself seemed to bend around his fingers. "Well," he said with a grim smile, "I guess we better get started. We've got a planet to save. Or maybe a multiverse to create." Zara took his hand, her touch sending a surge of shared power between them. "Together," she said firmly. As they prepared to leave the bunker and face the transformed world outside, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that they were stepping into a role far greater than anything they could have imagined. They were no longer just survivors or soldiers, they were the guardians of Earth's new destiny, tasked with shaping the future of all realities. The weight of that responsibility was immense, but as Jake looked at Zara, he felt a glimmer of hope. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, armed with the power of 1,000,000 Earths and the indomitable spirit of humanity. Little did they know, their journey was only beginning, and the true test of their newfound powers was yet to come. As Jake and Zara emerged from the bunker, the transformed landscape of Earth stretched before them in all its bizarre glory. The sky shimmered with quantum fluctuations, and the ground beneath their feet seemed to pulse with otherworldly energy. But Jake barely noticed the alien beauty surrounding them. His mind was reeling from the revelations about Project Omega and his own unexpected role in its activation. Memories flooded back, no longer obscured by time or trauma. He saw himself in high-level meetings, arguing passionately for the implementation of Pandora's shield. He remembered late nights poring over classified documents, convinced that he was working towards humanity's salvation. "I was part of it," Jake whispered, his voice hoarse with emotion. "All this time, I thought I was trying to fix a mistake, but I helped cause it." Zara placed a comforting hand on his shoulder, her touch sending a ripple of shared consciousness between them. "Jake, you couldn't have known the full consequences. None of you did." But Jake shook his head, pulling away. "That's no excuse. We played with forces we didn't understand, and look what happened." He gestured at the warped reality around them. "We didn't save humanity, we transformed it into this." As they walked across the ever-shifting landscape, Jake's mind raced through the implications of his recovered memories. Every decision he'd made, every action he'd taken since his supposed exile, now appeared in a new light. "My mission to fix things," he said bitterly, "it was never real, was it? Just a convenient cover story to keep me out of the way, while Earth completed its transformation." Zara frowned, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with concern. "I don't think it's that simple. Your experiences, your journey back to Earth, they all led us to this point. To understanding the truth." Jake stopped abruptly, turning to face her. "But what is the truth, Zara? That we destroyed our world to save it. That we've unleashed forces beyond our control on the entire multiverse. As if in response to his turmoil, the reality around them flickered, showing glimpses of other Earths, some thriving, some dying, all connected through the web of the quantum nexus. Jake saw versions of himself in these alternate realities: a conquering warlord, a peaceful scientist, a broken man watching his world burn. "I could have been any of them," he murmured, overwhelmed by the infinite possibilities. Zara took his hand, grounding him in the present. "But you're not. You're here, now, with the power to shape what Earth becomes." Her words triggered another rush of memories. Jake saw the desperation in the eyes of Earth's leaders as they activated Project Omega. He felt their hope, their fear, and their grim determination to save humanity at any cost. "We thought we were making the ultimate sacrifice," Jake said softly, "giving up our Earth to save the concept of Earth itself. But we didn't just change our world, we changed the entire multiverse." As they continued their journey, Jake's perspective began to shift. The guilt and shock of his revelation slowly gave way to a sense of responsibility. He had been part of Project Omega's creation. Now, he had to be part of guiding its outcome. "I can't undo what we did," Jake said, his voice growing stronger. "But maybe I can help steer it in the right direction. Use this power we've been given to ensure that something good comes from all this chaos." Zara smiled, her form shimmering with approval. "That's the Jake I know. So, what's our next move?" Jake looked out at the transformed Earth, seeing it not as a mistake to be fixed, but as a canvas of infinite potential. "We find the others, my team, other survivors who've adapted like us. We build a network of guardians to help guide Earth's evolution." As he spoke, Jake felt the power of the quantum nexus surging through him, responding to his renewed sense of purpose. Reality rippled around them, showing paths to other adapted humans and aliens scattered across the planet. "And we prepare," Jake continued, his eyes hardening with determination. "President Vasquez warned about other forces that might try to seize control of Earth. We need to be ready to defend it." Zara nodded, her own powers flaring in response to Jake's resolve. "Together, we can shape the future of not just Earth, but all realities connected to it." As they set off towards the nearest cluster of survivors, Jake felt a weight lift from his shoulders. He was no longer running from his past or trying to undo it. Instead, he was embracing his role in shaping the future, a future of infinite possibilities and challenges. The guilt of his involvement in Project Omega would never fully disappear, but it was tempered now by a fierce determination. Jake had helped set this transformation in motion. Now, he would see it through to its conclusion, whatever that might be. "Earth's story isn't over," Jake said, more to himself than to Zara. "It's just beginning, and this time we'll write it together." As they walked, the world around them seemed to respond to their shared resolve. The chaotic energies of the transformed Earth began to stabilize, hinting at the potential for a new order to emerge from the multiversal chaos. Jake and Zara pressed on, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. They were no longer just survivors or soldiers, but the architects of a new reality, one that would honor the sacrifice of countless Earths and pave the way for a future beyond imagination. As the newly formed alliance settled into an uneasy truce, Jake found himself drawn back to the bunker. The holographic message from President Vasquez played on a loop in his mind, along with the weight of his recovered memories. "Jake?" Zara's voice pulled him from his thoughts. "What's wrong?" He turned to her, his eyes filled with a mix of determination and sorrow. "We're missing something, Zara. All this power, all these possibilities, but at what cost?" Jake led Zara and Lyra back into the bunker, their footsteps echoing in the cavernous space. The others followed, curiosity overriding their earlier hostility. "Project Omega was meant to save Earth," Jake explained as they walked. "But look at what it's done. We're not just changing our world, we're altering the very fabric of the multiverse." They reached the central chamber, where the holographic Earth still pulsed with multiversal energy. Jake placed his hand on the console, and the image expanded, showing the far-reaching consequences of their actions. Countless alternate Earths were being drawn into the transformation, some willingly, others fighting against the pull. Entire civilizations were being rewritten, timelines erased or altered beyond recognition. "We're playing God," Jake said softly, "and we have no idea of the true consequences." Lyra stepped forward, her earlier aggression replaced by concern. "What are you suggesting, Opener?" Jake took a deep breath, knowing his next words would change everything. "I think we need to try and reverse Project Omega." The chamber erupted in a cacophony of voices, some supportive, others vehemently opposed. Zara placed a hand on Jake's arm, her eyes searching his face. "Jake, are you sure? We've seen the power we have, the good we could do." He nodded grimly. "And that's exactly why it's so dangerous. We're reshaping reality itself, Zara. No one should have that kind of power." Jake turned to address the group. "I'm not saying we abandon Earth to its fate, but maybe there's a way to stabilize the transformation, to find a balance that doesn't involve consuming other realities." Lyra frowned, her fractal patterns swirling with agitation. "And how do you propose we do that? The quantum nexus is beyond our control now." "Not entirely," Jake said, his mind racing with possibilities. "We're connected to it. We can influence it. If we work together, pool our knowledge and abilities, we might be able to guide the process to a less destructive conclusion." As Jake spoke, he felt the quantum nexus responding to his intentions. The holographic display shifted, showing a potential path forward, a way to contain the transformation to their Earth alone, sparing the wider multiverse. But the cost would be enormous. "To reverse the process," Jake explained, his voice heavy, "we'd need to create a quantum singularity, a point where all the energy of the transformation could be focused and then released." Understanding dawned on Zara's face. "You're talking about a controlled destruction of our Earth to save the others." Jake nodded, the weight of the decision crushing down on him. "It's not destruction, exactly. More like a reset. Our Earth would become the focal point, absorbing the transformative energy from all realities. We'd essentially be creating a new prime Earth, one that could exist in harmony with the multiverse instead of consuming it." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Everything and everyone they knew would be fundamentally changed. There was no guarantee they would even exist in the same form if the plan succeeded. Lyra was the first to speak. "The dangers of this are immeasurable. If we lose control of the singularity, we could tear a hole in the fabric of reality itself." "I know," Jake said quietly, "but the alternative is to continue on this path, reshaping the multiverse without fully understanding the consequences. Can we really take that responsibility?" Zara squeezed Jake's hand, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with a mix of fear and resolve. "Whatever you decide, I'm with you." Jake looked around at the gathered survivors, each of them grappling with the magnitude of the choice before them. He knew that this decision would define not just their future, but the future of countless realities. "I won't force this on anyone," Jake said. "Those who want to try and guide the current transformation can do so. But I have to try and fix what we've done. I owe it to all the Earths we've affected, to all the lives we've changed without consent." As he spoke, Jake felt the power of the quantum nexus surging within him, responding to his resolve. The holographic Earth before them began to shift, showing the potential path of their proposed solution, a shimmering thread of hope amidst the chaos of the multiverse. "If we do this," Jake continued, "we'll be painting targets on our backs. There are forces out there that want to use Earth's transformation for their own ends. They won't take kindly to us trying to shut it down." Lyra stepped forward, her earlier hostility completely gone. "Then we'll face them together. You've shown us the truth, Opener. We can't ignore it now." One by one, the others voiced their agreement. Even those who disagreed with the plan recognized the need to try something, anything, to address the cosmic imbalance they had created. Jake took a deep breath, feeling the weight of countless worlds resting on his shoulders. "All right then, we have a lot of work to do and not much time to do it. Let's get started." As the group began to plan their audacious attempt to rewrite the fate of Earth and the multiverse, Jake couldn't shake a feeling of foreboding. They were about to challenge forces beyond their comprehension, with the very fabric of reality as their battleground. The chapter in Earth's story that had begun with Project Omega was coming to an end. What would follow redemption or annihilation remained to be seen. But as Jake looked at the determined faces around him, he felt a glimmer of hope. Whatever came next, they would face it together, united in their quest to right the cosmic wrong they had unwittingly unleashed. The fate of not just Earth, but all Earths, now hung in the balance, and Jake was determined to see it through, no matter the cost. Jake and Zara stood at the edge of what used to be the Rocky Mountains, now a surreal landscape of floating islands and gravity-defying waterfalls. The holographic map projected from Jake's quantum flux suit flickered, struggling to maintain a consistent reading in the chaotic environment. The central control facility for Project Omega should be about 500 kilometers in that direction, Jake said, pointing towards a swirling vortex of energy on the horizon. If it still exists in this reality. Zara nodded, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with determination. We'll find it. We have to. As they set off, the very ground beneath their feet seemed to resist their progress. The transformed Earth, perhaps sensing their intentions, threw obstacle after obstacle in their path. They had barely covered a kilometer when the air around them solidified, becoming a gelatinous mass that slowed their movements to a crawl. Jake gritted his teeth, focusing his newfound powers to create a bubble of normal space around them. This isn't going to be easy, he muttered, already feeling the strain of maintaining their safe zone. Zara placed a hand on his shoulder, channeling her own energy to reinforce his efforts. Together, remember? We can do this. As they pressed on, the landscape continued to shift and change. One moment they were trudging through a desert of crystalline sand that chimed with eerie melodies. The next they were navigating a forest of trees that phased in and out of existence. Suddenly, a piercing shriek filled the air. A flock of what looked like birds made of pure energy swooped down upon them, their wings leaving trails of distorted reality in their wake. "Watch out!" Jake yelled, throwing up a quantum shield just as the creatures attacked. Zara reacted instantly, her hands weaving complex patterns in the air. The space around the energy birds warped, trapping them in bubbles of slowed time. "Nice move," Jake said, impressed. Zara managed a grim smile. "Thanks. But look, there's more coming." Indeed, the horizon was darkening with swarms of the strange creatures. It seemed the transformed Earth was intent on stopping their progress. "We need to move faster," Jake said, his mind racing. "Zara, do you think you can create a sort of quantum tunnel? A path of stable space-time we can travel through?" Zara's eyes lit up with understanding. "I can try. Cover me." As Jake fended off waves of energy creatures and reality distortions, Zara focused her powers. The air in front of them began to ripple and part, revealing a tunnel of calm amidst the chaos. "It's working!" Jake exclaimed. "Let's go." They plunged into the tunnel, moving at incredible speed through the warped landscape. Through the shimmering walls of their quantum pathway, Jake caught glimpses of the transformed Earth cities floating in the sky, oceans of liquid light, and strange new life forms that defied description. But their respite was short-lived. As they approached the halfway point to their destination, the tunnel began to destabilize. "Something's fighting against us," Zara said through gritted teeth, struggling to maintain their path. Jake looked ahead and saw the problem. A massive being, like a living mountain of shifting matter and energy, stood in their way. Its eyes, if they could be called that, fixed upon them with unmistakable hostility. "I think we've met one of Earth's new inhabitants," Jake said, readying himself for a confrontation. The creature roared, the sound shattering their quantum tunnel and sending them tumbling through fractured reality. Jake and Zara landed hard on a platform of solidified energy, facing the colossal entity. "We mean you no harm," Jake called out, hoping against hope that the creature could understand. "We're trying to help." In response, the being unleashed a wave of chaotic energy that threatened to unravel the very fabric of space-time around them. Jake and Zara poured their power into a combined shield, barely holding back the assault. "Any ideas?" Zara asked, her voice strained. Jake's mind raced. Fighting this creature would be futile, and they couldn't afford to waste time. Then, an idea struck him. The quantum nexus, it connects all realities, right? Maybe we can use that connection to communicate. Focusing intensely, Jake reached out with his mind, tapping into the vast network of the quantum nexus. He sent images, feelings, and intentions their mission, the dangers of unchecked transformation, the hope for a balanced future. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the creature's attack subsided. Its form shifted, becoming less hostile and more inquisitive. A voice, more felt than heard, resonated in their minds. "You seek to change, to undo. Why?" Jake stepped forward, his hand outstretched in a gesture of peace. "Not to undo, but to stabilize, to find balance. Will you let us pass?" There was a long pause, reality itself seeming to hold its breath. Finally, the creature moved aside, opening a path forward. "Seek your balance, small ones," it rumbled. "But know that change cannot be undone, only reshaped." With a grateful nod, Jake and Zara hurried past. As they continued their journey, now with a mix of trepidation and hope, the transformed Earth seemed to regard them differently. The obstacles became less hostile, more like tests of their resolve and creativity. "We're getting close," Jake said, checking the map. "The control facility should be just beyond that reality storm." Zara looked at the swirling maelstrom of quantum energy ahead, then back at Jake. "Whatever happens in there, we face it together, right?" Jake took her hand, feeling the power of the quantum nexus flowing between them. "Together," he agreed. As they stepped into the storm, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, Jake couldn't shake the creature's warning. Change cannot be undone, only reshaped. He hoped they were making the right choice, for the sake of not just their Earth, but all realities hanging in the balance. The storm engulfed them, and the final leg of their journey to the heart of Project Omega began. As Jake and Zara emerged from the reality storm, they found themselves in a vast chamber that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Crystalline structures pulsed with quantum energy, and holographic displays flickered with data streams from countless realities. "This is it," Jake breathed, recognizing elements of Earth's most advanced technology mixed with something far beyond human understanding. The control center for Project Omega. Before they could take another step, a shimmering barrier sprang up around them. From the shadows of the multidimensional space, a group of evolved humans emerged, their bodies radiating power. "Halt!" commanded a tall, silver-skinned woman whose eyes swirled with galaxies. "You have entered restricted space." Jake tensed, ready for a fight, but to his surprise, the woman's gaze fixed not on him, but on Zara. Her eyes widened in recognition. "It can't be," she whispered. "Zara, is that really you?" Zara stiffened beside Jake, her bioluminescent patterns flaring with a mix of emotions Jake couldn't decipher. "Ilada," she said, her voice barely audible. I didn't expect to find you here." Jake looked between them, confusion evident on his face. "Zara, you know these people?" Before Zara could respond, another evolved human stepped forward, his form shifting between solid and energy states. "Know us? Zara is one of us. Or at least, she was." The pieces started to fall into place in Jake's mind. "You're part of the team that initiated Project Omega," he said, looking at Zara with new eyes. "But how? You look so young, and the project was activated years ago." Zara's shoulders slumped, the weight of a long-held secret finally lifting. "I'm not what I appear to be, Jake. My youthful appearance, my abilities, they're a result of the project." Ilara nodded, her expression a mix of joy and concern. "Zara was our brightest mind, the one who truly understood the potential of the quantum nexus. But something went wrong during the initial activation. Wrong? Jake asked, a chill running down his spine. Zara turned to face him, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. I became untethered from our reality. For years, I've been drifting through the multiverse, experiencing countless versions of Earth's transformation. The Zara you met, the one you've been working with, she's a composite of all those experiences. Jake's mind reeled from the revelation. But why didn't you tell me? Why pretend to be someone you're not? Because I didn't remember, not fully, Zara explained, her voice tinged with frustration. Each time I manifested in a new reality, my memories were fragmented. It's only now, being here in the control center, that everything is coming back to me. Alara stepped forward, the barrier between them dissolving. Zara, we've been searching for you across realities. Your insights, your experience, they could be crucial in stabilizing the transformation. Jake felt a pang of betrayal, quickly followed by understanding. He turned to Zara, his expression softening. Is this true? Can you help us find a way to balance the changes without resorting to a full reversal? Zara nodded slowly, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with renewed purpose. I think so. My journey through the multiverse has shown me possibilities we never considered. There might be a way to guide the transformation, to create a stable nexus point without consuming other realities. The other evolved humans murmured among themselves, a mix of hope and skepticism in their voices. Jake could sense the power dynamics shifting, the weight of decision moving towards Zara. What does this mean for our plan? Jake asked, trying to keep the hurt from his voice. For everything we've been through together. Zara reached out, taking his hand. The familiar surge of shared power flowed between them. But now Jake could sense the vast depths of her experiences, the multitude of lives she had lived across realities. It doesn't change who we are, Jake, she said softly. Everything we've been through, everything we've felt, that's real. I may have more knowledge now, but the Zara you know is still me, and I still believe in what we're trying to do. Jake squeezed her hand, feeling the truth in her words. All right, he said, turning to face the group of evolved humans. So where do we go from here? Alara stepped forward, her galactic eyes scanning both Jake and Zara. We combine our knowledge, Zara's multiversal experience, Jake's connection to the current Earth, and our understanding of the quantum nexus. Together, we might find a solution that preserves the best of what Earth has become while stabilizing its place in the multiverse. As the group began to discuss possibilities, holographic displays springing to life around them, Jake couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions. The Zara he knew was both more and less than he had believed. Yet, as he watched her confidently explaining concepts that bridged realities, he realized that the core of who she was, her compassion, her determination, her brilliance remained unchanged. Zara, he said, pulling her aside for a moment. I need to know, with all your knowledge, all your experiences across realities, do you think we're doing the right thing? Is there hope for Earth, for the multiverse? Zara's eyes met his, and in them, Jake saw the weight of countless worlds and the spark of infinite possibilities. There's always hope, Jake, she said with a smile that spanned realities. And with you by my side, I believe we can shape a future brighter than any single Earth could imagine. With renewed determination, Jake and Zara turned back to the task at hand. The fate of Earth, of all Earths, hung in the balance. But now, armed with knowledge spanning the multiverse and a bond that transcended reality itself, they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As they began to work on reshaping the very fabric of existence, Jake couldn't help but feel that this was just the beginning of an even greater adventure. As the evolved humans bustled around them, recalibrating equipment and discussing multiversal theories, Jake found himself withdrawing to a quiet corner of the control center. His mind was a whirlwind of conflicting emotions, trying to reconcile the Zara he knew with the multiversal being she truly was. Zara noticed his distance and approached cautiously. Jake, are you all right? He turned to face her, his expression a mix of confusion and hurt. I don't know, Zara. Or should I even call you that? Who are you, really? Zara's bioluminescent patterns dimmed, reflecting her sadness. I'm still me, Jake. Everything we've been through, everything we've shared that was real. Was it? Jake challenged, his voice low. How can I be sure? You've lived countless lives across realities. Am I just another blip in your cosmic existence? Zara reached out to touch his arm, but Jake flinched away. The hurt in her eyes was palpable. Jake, please. My feelings for you. Our connection, it's unique across all the realities I've experienced. Jake wanted to believe her, but doubt gnawed at him. How can you even know that? With all those lives, those experiences blending together, how can you be sure of anything? Their conversation was interrupted by Alada, who approached with a holographic display of swirling energy patterns. Zara, we need your insight on these quantum fluctuations. We think we've found a way to stabilize the nexus point, but… Jake cut her off, his frustration boiling over. Give us a minute, will you? We're in the middle of something here. Alara's galactic eyes widened in surprise, but she nodded and withdrew. The other evolved humans cast curious glances their way, sensing the tension. Zara sighed, her form shimmering slightly as if struggling to maintain cohesion. Jake, I know this is a lot to take in, but we don't have the luxury of time. The multiverse is at stake. I know that, Jake snapped, then immediately regretted his tone. He ran a hand through his hair, trying to calm himself. I know, it's just, I thought I knew you. I thought what we had was special. Now I find out you're this multiversal being with knowledge and power beyond my comprehension. Where does that leave us? Where does that leave me? Zara's expression softened. It leaves us exactly where we've always been together, facing the unknown. Yes, I have experiences from across realities, but that doesn't diminish what we've shared. If anything, it makes it more precious. Jake wanted to believe her, but a nagging doubt remained. And what happens after we stabilize the nexus? Will you stay? Or will you drift off to another reality, another adventure? The question hung in the air between them, heavy with implications. Zara opened her mouth to respond, but alarms suddenly blared throughout the control center. Alara rushed over, her face etched with concern. The quantum fluctuations are intensifying. If we don't act now, we could lose our window to stabilize the nexus. Jake and Zara exchanged a look, their personal drama momentarily overshadowed by the cosmic crisis at hand. What do you need us to do? Jake asked, slipping back into mission mode. Alara's form flickered as she brought up a complex holographic display. We need to create a stabilizing field around the nexus point. It will require an immense amount of energy and precise control. Zara, with your multiversal experience, you're the only one who can guide the process. Zara nodded, her expression determined. I can do it, but I'll need an anchor, someone to keep me tethered to this reality while I navigate the quantum currents. All eyes turned to Jake. He realized with a start that despite his doubts, despite the revelations about Zara's true nature, he was still the one she trusted most. Jake, Zara said softly, extending her hand. I can't do this without you. Will you help me? In that moment, Jake faced the most difficult choice of his life. Could he set aside his hurt and confusion? Could he trust in the connection he and Zara had forged, even knowing she was so much more than he had realized? The fate of the multiverse hung in the balance, but for Jake, it all came down to one simple question. Did he still believe in Zara? Time seemed to slow as Jake looked into Zara's eyes. Behind the swirling quantum energy, behind the weight of countless lives and experiences, he saw the same determination, compassion, and love that had drawn him to her from the beginning. Taking a deep breath, Jake made his choice. He reached out and took Zara's hand, feeling the familiar surge of shared power between them. Together, he said, his voice firm with renewed resolve. Whatever happens, we face it together. Zara's smile was radiant, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with joy and relief. Thank you, Jake, for trusting me, for believing in us. As they turned to face the daunting task ahead, Jake knew that questions remained. Their relationship, like the multiverse itself, would need to find a new equilibrium. But for now, they had a mission to complete and a reality to save. "All right," Jake said, addressing the group of evolved humans. "Let's stabilize this nexus and save the multiverse. What's the plan?" As Alara began explaining the complex procedure, Jake felt a renewed sense of purpose. He might not fully understand Zara's multiversal nature, but he understood their connection, and right now, that was enough. Together, they prepared to reshape the very fabric of reality, their personal journey intertwining with the fate of all existence. Whatever the outcome, Jake knew that his decision to trust in their bond would shape not just their future, but the future of countless realities. The next chapter of their adventure was about to begin, and despite the uncertainties, Jake was ready to face it head-on with Zara by his side. As Jake, Zara, and the team of evolved humans approached the core of the control facility, the very air around them crackled with quantum energy. Holographic displays flickered with warnings, showing the increasing instability of the nexus point. "We're running out of time," Alara said, her galactic eyes scanning the data streams. "The quantum fluctuations are reaching critical levels." Jake and Zara moved in perfect sync, their combined powers creating a stabilizing field around the group as they navigated the chaotic environment. Despite his lingering doubts about Zara's true nature, Jake found their connection stronger than ever in the face of crisis. As they reached the central chamber, a massive spherical structure pulsing with multiversal energy, alarms blared with renewed urgency. "Something's wrong," Zara said, her bioluminescent patterns flaring with concern. "The nexus is collapsing in on itself." Before anyone could react, a shockwave of pure quantum energy erupted from the sphere. Jake instinctively threw up a protective barrier, but the force was overwhelming. He felt his connection to Zara severed as the blast threw them in opposite directions. Jake slammed against a wall, his quantum flux suit absorbing most of the impact. As he struggled to his feet, he saw the chamber in chaos. Reality itself seemed to be unraveling, with patches of the room phasing in and out of existence. "Zara," he called out, searching frantically for her amidst the destruction. "Alara, anyone." Through the swirling quantum mists, he caught glimpses of the others. Some were unconscious, others trapped in bubbles of distorted space-time. But Zara was nowhere to be seen. A holographic display sputtered to life near Jake, showing a diagram of the facility. To his horror, he saw that the quantum collapse was spreading, threatening to engulf not just the control center, but the entire transformed Earth. "No," Jake muttered, his mind racing. "There has to be a way to stop this." He reached out with his powers, trying to stabilize the area around him. But it was like trying to hold back an ocean with his bare hands. The quantum energies were too vast, too chaotic. As despair threatened to overwhelm him, Jake heard Zara's voice in his mind, a memory of their training sessions. "The quantum nexus connects all realities, Jake, and you're connected to it. There's more power in you than you know, you just have to believe." Jake closed his eyes, focusing inward. He felt the power of the quantum nexus flowing through him, not just the limited connection he'd had before, but something deeper, more fundamental. It was as if he could sense the very fabric of reality itself. With a surge of determination, Jake opened his eyes. The world around him seemed different now, the quantum energies visible as intricate patterns and flows. He could see the points of instability, the places where reality was tearing apart. Acting on instinct, Jake reached out, not with his physical hands, but with his mind. He grasped the fraying edges of space-time and began to weave them back together. It was excruciating, like trying to reshape molten metal with his bare hands, but he persevered. As he worked, Jake became aware of a presence beside him. Zara had phased back into their reality, her form shimmering with multiversal energy. Without a word, she joined her power with his, their combined efforts accelerating the stabilization process. Together, they moved through the chamber, repairing the damage and containing the quantum collapse. Jake felt his understanding of the quantum nexus expanding exponentially with each passing moment. He wasn't just manipulating energy, he was reshaping reality itself. As the last of the instabilities were brought under control, Jake became aware of the others watching them in awe. Ilara and the evolved humans stood at the edges of the chamber, their expressions a mix of shock and reverence. "Impossible," Ilara whispered. "They've achieved perfect quantum synchronization. They're operating on a level even we haven't reached." Jake barely heard her, his focus entirely on the task at hand. With a final surge of effort, he and Zara sealed the last rift in reality. The alarms fell silent, and the chaotic energies of the chamber settled into a stable hum. As the immediate danger passed, Jake felt the enormity of what he'd just done crash over him. His legs buckled, and he would have fallen if Zara hadn't caught him. "Jake," she said, her voice filled with wonder and concern. "What you just did, it shouldn't have been possible. You've tapped into the full power of the quantum nexus." Jake looked at his hands, still shimmering with residual energy. "I don't understand. How did I do that?" Ilara approached, her galactic eyes studying Jake intently. "It seems our original theories were incomplete. The quantum nexus doesn't just connect realities, it responds to conscious will. And you, Jake, have just demonstrated a level of control we thought impossible for a single individual." The implications of what he'd done began to sink in. Jake had reshaped reality, contained a quantum collapse that should have been beyond his abilities. The power he now wielded was both exhilarating and terrifying. "What does this mean for our mission?" Jake asked, looking between Zara and Ilara. "For the stabilization of Earth and the multiverse." Zara squeezed his hand, her expression a mix of pride and determination. "It means we have a real chance now. With your newfound abilities and our combined knowledge, we can guide the transformation, create a stable nexus point without sacrificing other realities." As the team began to regroup, discussing their next steps with renewed hope, Jake felt the weight of his new power settling on his shoulders. He had unlocked potential beyond his wildest dreams, but with it came enormous responsibility. Looking at Zara, seeing the trust and love in her eyes, Jake made a silent vow. He would use this power wisely to protect not just their Earth, but all realities touched by the quantum nexus. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time since this journey began, Jake felt truly prepared to face whatever challenges awaited them. The next phase of their mission was about to begin, and with it, a new chapter in the history of the multiverse. Jake and Zara, along with Ilara and the remaining team of evolved humans, made their way through the now stabilized control facility. The air hummed with potential, quantum energies dancing at their fingertips as they navigated the complex's twisting corridors. "The main control room should be just ahead," Ilara said, her galactic eyes scanning a holographic map. "Once we're there, we can begin the final stabilization process for the entire Earth." Jake nodded, still coming to terms with his newly awakened abilities. He could feel the quantum nexus pulsing around him, within him, a vast network of possibilities waiting to be shaped. Zara squeezed his hand reassuringly, her bioluminescent patterns syncing with his own energy signature. As they rounded the final corner, the group came to an abrupt halt. Before them stood a massive door, its surface a swirling vortex of quantum energy. But it wasn't the door that gave them pause, it was what stood guard before it. 5 figures blocked their path, unlike any evolved humans they had encountered before. Their bodies seemed to be composed of pure energy, shifting and reforming constantly. Where eyes should have been, they had swirling galaxies. Tendrils of quantum energy extended from their forms, manipulating the very fabric of reality around them. "Quantum archons," Ilara breathed, her voice a mix of awe and fear. "I thought they were just a theory, a potential endpoint of human evolution." The lead archon stepped forward, its voice resonating not through the air, but directly in their minds. "You have come far, seekers of balance, but your journey ends here. The transformation of Earth cannot be halted or altered. It is the key to unlocking the full potential of the multiverse." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. These beings radiated power beyond anything he had felt before, even with his newfound abilities. "We're not here to stop the transformation," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "We want to guide it, to find a balance that doesn't threaten other realities." The Archon's form pulsed with what might have been amusement. "Balance. There is no balance in evolution, only forward motion. The Earth must become the nexus it was always meant to be, absorbing and reshaping all realities in its path." Zara stepped forward, her own energy flaring in response to the Archon's presence. "You're wrong. I've seen countless versions of Earth across the multiverse. There are ways to evolve without destruction, to grow without consuming everything in our path." The Archon spread out, forming a barrier between the group and the control room door. "Your limited perspectives blind you to the greater purpose," the lead Archon said. "We are what humanity is meant to become, beings of pure quantum energy, unfettered by physical form or the constraints of a single reality." Jake felt the situation balancing on a knife's edge. These quantum Archons clearly saw themselves as the pinnacle of evolution, willing to sacrifice countless realities for their vision of the future. But he also sensed something else, a deep-seated fear beneath their confidence. "You're afraid," Jake realized aloud. "You've evolved to this state, but you don't know what comes next. You're pushing for this transformation because you think it's the only way forward." The lead Archon's form rippled with barely contained energy. "Enough. You will not interfere with the grand design. The Earth will become the nexus, and we will ascend to become gods of the multiverse." Without warning, the Archons attacked. Beams of concentrated quantum energy lashed out, warping space-time itself. Jake threw up a protective barrier, his newfound powers straining against the onslaught. Zara and the other evolved humans retaliated, the air filling with clashing energies and distorted realities. Elara's voice cut through the chaos. "Jake, Zara, we'll hold them off. Get to the control room." Jake nodded, grabbing Zara's hand. Together, they focused their combined power, creating a tunnel of stable space-time through the chaotic battlefield. They sprinted towards the control room door, the sounds of reality warping combat raging behind them. As they reached the door, Jake felt a surge of quantum energy, unlike anything he had experienced before. The Archons, realizing their plan, had unleashed their full power. "Jake," Zara shouted over the din, "we can't let them stop us. Everything we've fought for, everything we've discovered, it all comes down to this moment." Jake met her gaze, seeing the determination and trust in her eyes. In that instant, he knew that whatever doubts he had harbored about her true nature, about their relationship, were insignificant in the face of what they now had to do. "Together," he said, raising his free hand towards the door. Zara nodded, mirroring his action. Together. They poured their combined power into the quantum lock, feeling the mechanisms of reality itself responding to their will. Behind them, the battle raged on, the very fabric of space-time threatening to unravel under the clash of evolved humans and quantum Archons. As the door began to open, revealing the pulsing heart of Earth's transformation, Jake and Zara stood on the precipice of their greatest challenge yet. They had come so far, overcome so much, but the true test still lay ahead. The fate of not just their Earth, but all realities connected through the quantum nexus, hung in the balance. The Archons represented a vision of evolution unchecked, of power without responsibility. Jake and Zara now stood as the counterbalance, the hope for a future where humanity could evolve without losing its essence, where progress didn't come at the cost of entire universes. With one last look at each other, a silent promise passing between them, Jake and Zara stepped through the threshold. The control room beckoned, its swirling energies holding the key to reshaping the multiverse. Behind them, the battle raged on, a stark reminder of the stakes. Before them lay the unknown, a final confrontation that would determine the course of evolution itself. The chapter was ending, but the true climax of their journey was just beginning. Whatever awaited them in the heart of Earth's transformation, Jake and Zara would face it as they had faced everything else together, bound by a connection that transcended realities. The door sealed behind them, cutting off the sounds of battle. In the sudden quiet, the enormity of their task settled upon them. The final push to save the multiverse had begun. The control room pulsed with raw quantum energy, its very walls shifting and warping as if breathing. At its center stood a massive crystalline structure, tendrils of light connecting it to countless holographic displays showing the state of Earth and the surrounding multiverse. Jake and Zara had barely taken in their surroundings when the door behind them exploded inward. The quantum archons poured through, their forms crackling with unleashed power. "You cannot stop the ascension," the lead archon roared, its voice shaking the very foundations of reality. Jake and Zara exchanged a quick glance, a lifetime of trust and understanding passing between them in an instant. Without a word, they sprang into action. Zara's bioluminescent patterns flared brilliantly as she tapped into the multiversal knowledge gained from her countless lives. Her hands wove intricate patterns in the air, creating pockets of altered space-time that trapped and redirected the Archon's energy blasts. Jake, drawing on his newfound connection to the quantum nexus, felt his consciousness expand. He could see the flows of energy throughout the room, the interconnected web of realities all converging on this point. With a thought, he began to manipulate these currents, using them to bolster their defenses and counter the Archon's attacks. The battle that ensued was unlike anything Earth had ever witnessed. Reality itself became a weapon, with both sides bending and reshaping the fabric of space-time to their will. Walls phased in and out of existence, gravity reversed and twisted, and beams of pure quantum energy crisscrossed the chamber. As the fight intensified, Jake felt something awakening deep within him. The power he had tapped into earlier was nothing compared to what he now sensed. He realized that his connection to the quantum nexus wasn't just a tool, it was a fundamental part of who he was, who he had always been meant to become. "Zara," he called out, deflecting a reality-warping blast from one of the Archons. "I think I understand now. We're not just fighting them, we're fighting for the right to guide Earth's evolution." Zara nodded, her form shimmering as she phased through an Archon's attack. "Yes, the quantum nexus responds to conscious will. Whoever controls this room will shape the future of not just Earth, but all connected realities." Understanding dawned on Jake. This wasn't just a physical battle, it was a clash of ideologies, of potential futures. The Archons sought to use Earth as a catalyst for unrestrained evolution, consuming other realities in the process. Jake and Zara fought for balance, for growth that didn't come at the cost of cosmic destruction. As this realization hit him, Jake felt his powers surge to new heights. He reached out, not with his hands, but with his mind, grasping the very threads of reality that wove through the room. With a thought, he began to rewrite the laws of physics within the chamber. The Archons faltered, suddenly finding their powers dampened, their control over quantum energies diminished. Jake had created a bubble of altered reality where their evolved forms held less sway. Zara, sensing the shift, capitalized on the moment. Her bioluminescent patterns pulsed in complex sequences, each flash sending out waves of stabilizing energy. Where these waves touched, the chaotic quantum fluctuations calmed, making it harder for the Archons to manipulate their surroundings. "No!" the lead Archon cried, its form flickering as it struggled against the changing rules of engagement. "You cannot deny us our destiny." Jake stepped forward, his eyes glowing with the power of the quantum nexus. "Your vision of destiny is flawed. Evolution doesn't have to mean destruction. We can grow, change, become more than we are without sacrificing everything and everyone else." As he spoke, Jake felt his connection to the nexus deepen even further. Suddenly, he could sense not just the energies in the room, but the entire transformed Earth, the web of realities connected to it, the vast expanse of the multiverse beyond. Zara moved to stand beside him, her own powers resonating with his. Together, they began to weave a new pattern into the fabric of reality, one of balance, of controlled growth, of evolution guided by compassion and wisdom rather than blind ambition. The Archons, sensing the tide turning against them, launched a desperate, all-out assault. They poured every ounce of their considerable power into a single, reality-shattering attack. Time seemed to slow as the blast approached. Jake and Zara, moving in perfect synchronization, raised their hands. The air around them shimmered, not with a shield, but with something far more profound, a localized rewriting of the laws of cause and effect. The Archon's attack, instead of destroying them, looped back on itself, its energy feeding into the new pattern Jake and Zara were creating. The chamber filled with blinding light as the power of the assault was absorbed and redistributed throughout the quantum nexus. When the light faded, the Archons stood frozen, their forms flickering between states of energy and matter. The control room hummed with newfound stability, the chaotic energies now flowing in harmonious patterns. Jake and Zara lowered their hands, breathing heavily from the exertion. They had won, not through destruction, but through transformation. The Archons, and the misguided vision of evolution they represented, had been neutralized. As the dust settled, Jake turned to Zara, seeing in her eyes the same mix of awe and determination he felt. They had unlocked potential beyond their wildest dreams, and with it, the ability to truly shape the future of Earth and all connected realities. "We did it," Zara breathed, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with joy and exhaustion. Jake nodded, a small smile playing on his lips. "We did. But something tells me this is just the beginning." Together, they turned to face the central crystal, the heart of Earth's transformation. The real work, the delicate task of guiding their planet's evolution while maintaining the balance of the multiverse, was about to begin. As they approached the controls, hand in hand, Jake and Zara stood not just as individuals, but as the embodiment of humanity's potential for growth, wisdom, and compassion. The future of Earth, and countless realities beyond, now rested in their hands. The final chapter of their incredible journey was about to unfold, and with it, the dawn of a new era for Earth and the entire multiverse. Jake's hands flew over the holographic controls of the central crystal, his mind processing vast streams of quantum data as he searched for a way to deactivate Project Omega. Behind him, the sounds of reality warping combat filled the air as Zara held off the remaining quantum Archons and their evolved guardians. "Jake, hurry," Zara called out, her voice strained as she manipulated space-time to deflect a barrage of energy blasts. "I don't know how much longer I can keep them back." Jake nodded grimly, his focus split between the complex deactivation sequence and the battle raging around him. As he delved deeper into the project's core systems, the full scope of what Project Omega had done and was still doing to Earth became clear. The transformation wasn't just changing their planet. It was rewriting the very laws of physics that govern their reality. Earth was becoming a nexus point for the entire multiverse, a fulcrum upon which the fate of countless realities balanced. And that's when the moral dilemma hit him full force. Deactivating Project Omega wouldn't just stop Earth's transformation, it would reverse it. All the evolutionary leaps humanity had made, all the incredible abilities they had gained, would be undone. They would be returning to a normal Earth, but at what cost? Jake's fingers hesitated over the final command sequence. Images flashed through his mind, the wonders they had witnessed, the potential for growth and understanding that the transformation had unlocked. Could he really take that away? "Jake!" Zara's urgent cry snapped him back to the present. She was being pushed back, the combined might of the evolved guardians slowly overwhelming her defenses. He had to make a decision, and fast. But the weight of that choice was staggering. On one hand, deactivating Project Omega would save countless other realities from being consumed by Earth's transformation. It would restore a sense of cosmic balance. On the other hand, it would be denying humanity and Earth itself a chance at true evolutionary transcendence. The power to shape reality, to explore the multiverse, to become something greater than they had ever been, all of it would be lost. As Jake wrestled with this dilemma, a new thought struck him. What if there was a third option? Not a complete deactivation, but a recalibration. His hands began moving again, this time not to shut down the project, but to reshape it. He tapped into the full power of his connection to the quantum nexus, using his understanding of both the old Earth and its transformed state to find a middle ground. "Zara," he shouted over the chaos of the battle, "I need your help. We're not going to deactivate it, we're going to redirect it. Zara's eyes widened with understanding. In a display of incredible multitasking, she maintained her defense against the Guardians while reaching out with her mind to connect with Jake and the central crystal. Together, they began to rewrite the core parameters of Project Omega. Instead of an uncontrolled transformation that threatened to consume other realities, they shaped it into a controlled evolution. Earth would remain a nexus point, but one that supported and strengthened the multiverse rather than destabilizing it. As they worked, the evolved Guardians seemed to sense the shift in the project's energy. Their attacks became more desperate, more frenzied. But Jake and Zara's combined power, fueled by their shared vision of a balanced future, proved to be an unbreakable defense. Reality itself seemed to hold its breath as the final adjustments were made. Jake and Zara, their minds linked through the quantum nexus, initiated the recalibrated sequence. A pulse of energy, unlike anything they had ever experienced before, emanated from the central crystal. It washed over them, over the Guardians, expanding outward to encompass the entire planet and beyond. For a moment, everything seemed to freeze. Then, slowly, the world began to change around them. But this transformation was different, controlled, harmonious, full of purpose. The evolved Guardians, caught in the wave of recalibration, began to shift. The mindless aggression faded from their eyes, replaced by understanding and, in some cases, regret. As the energy pulse faded, Jake and Zara found themselves standing in a control room that was both familiar and utterly new. The chaotic energies had been tamed, replaced by a sense of infinite potential held in perfect balance. Outside, through holographic windows, they could see Earth transforming once again. But this time, it wasn't a violent reimagining of reality. Instead, it was as if the planet was settling into its new role, a bright point of light in the cosmic web of the multiverse. Jake turned to Zara, exhaustion and exhilaration warring on his face. Did we do it?" Zara nodded, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with a mix of relief and awe. "We did. Earth is still evolved, still connected to the quantum nexus, but now it's a stabilizing force rather than a destructive one." As the full implications of what they had accomplished began to sink in, Jake felt a weight lift from his shoulders. They hadn't denied humanity its evolutionary leap, but they had guided it onto a more responsible, sustainable path. The evolved Guardians, no longer hostile, approached with expressions of curiosity and newfound respect. The leader, her form now stable and controlled, spoke softly. "You have shown us a better way. What happens now?" Jake and Zara exchanged a look, years of trust and shared experiences passing between them in an instant. They turned back to the Guardians, to the holographic displays showing a transformed yet balanced Earth, and to the infinite possibilities that now lay before them. "Now," Jake said, his voice filled with determination and hope, "we begin the real work. We learn to use our new abilities responsibly, to explore the multiverse without endangering it, and to guide Earth into a future brighter than we ever imagined." As they stood there, at the dawn of a new era for Earth and the entire multiverse, Jake and Zara knew that their greatest adventure was just beginning. The challenges ahead were immense, but together, and with the newfound wisdom they had gained, they were ready to face whatever the cosmos had in store for them. The story of Earth's transformation was far from over. In fact, it was just entering its most exciting chapter yet. The recalibrated Project Omega hummed with newfound stability, its energies no longer chaotic but purposeful. Jake and Zara stood at the heart of the control room, surrounded by the evolved Guardians who now looked to them for guidance. The immediate crisis seemed to have passed, but a tension lingered in the air, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. Suddenly, alarms blared, and the holographic displays erupted with warnings. Jake's eyes widened as he processed the incoming data. "No," he breathed, his voice barely audible over the sirens. "This can't be happening." Zara was at his side in an instant, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with concern. "Jake, what is it?" He turned to her, his face pale. "The recalibration. It's not complete. There's a cascading quantum reaction spreading across the planet. If we don't stop it, Earth will tear itself apart, taking a significant portion of the multiverse with it. The evolved guardians murmured in alarm, their newly gained understanding allowing them to grasp the gravity of the situation. Can we stop it? Zara asked, already moving towards the central crystal. Jake nodded grimly. Yes, but there's a catch. The only way to halt the reaction is to create a quantum singularity to absorb the excess energy. But it would require. He trailed off, unable to finish the sentence. Zara met his gaze, understanding dawning in her eyes. It would require a living consciousness to guide it, she finished softly. Someone connected to both Earth and the quantum nexus. Jake nodded, his heart heavy. Someone like you, Zara. Your multiversal nature, your connection to countless realities, you're the only one who could safely channel that much energy. The implications hung heavy in the air between them. If Zara were to attempt this, there was a very real chance she wouldn't survive. Her consciousness might be scattered across the multiverse, lost forever. Then I'll do it, Zara said, her voice firm despite the fear Jake could see in her eyes. No, Jake protested, grabbing her hand. There has to be another way. I can't lose you, not after everything we've been through. Zara smiled sadly, touching his cheek. Jake, you know there isn't time to find another solution. This is why I'm here, why I've lived so many lives across so many realities. It's all been leading to this moment. As they stood there, time seeming to slow around them, Jake felt the full weight of the choice before him. On one side was Earth, their home, and the countless realities connected to it through the quantum nexus. On the other was Zara, the woman he loved, his partner through impossible adventures. The old Jake, the one who had first stumbled upon the secrets of Project Omega, might have made a selfish choice. He might have tried to find a way to save both, even at the risk of greater destruction. But the Jake who stood there now, shaped by his experiences and the profound connection he shared with Zara, knew what had to be done. With a heavy heart, he nodded. You're right, it has to be you. Zara's eyes shimmered with unshed tears, but her smile was radiant. Thank you, Jake, for understanding, for everything. They embraced, pouring a lifetime of emotions into that single moment. When they parted, both were resolute. I'll guide you through it, Jake said, his voice steady despite the turmoil in his heart. We'll do this together, like always. They moved to the central crystal, the evolved guardians stepping back to give them space. Jake's hands flew over the controls, preparing the system for the quantum singularity. Zara stood at the heart of the chamber, her form already beginning to shimmer as she tapped into the full power of her multiversal nature. Ready? Jake asked, his finger hovering over the final activation sequence. Zara nodded, her bioluminescent patterns swirling with a mix of fear and determination. Ready. Jake, I love you. Across every reality, in every life, I have always loved you. I love you too, Jake replied, his voice thick with emotion. In this reality and all others. With that, he initiated the sequence. Energy surged from the crystal into Zara, her form becoming a conduit for the vast powers of the quantum nexus. She cried out, her consciousness expanding to encompass the cascading reaction threatening Earth. Jake poured everything he had into guiding her, using his connection to the nexus to help stabilize the forming singularity. He could feel Zara's presence stretching, thinning as it spread across realities to contain the destructive energies. The room filled with blinding light as the quantum singularity took shape. Earth's energies, once chaotic and dangerous, began to flow into it, guided by Zara's expanded consciousness. As the process neared completion, Jake felt Zara's presence beginning to fade. He reached out with his mind, trying desperately to hold on to her. Stay with me, he pleaded, both aloud and through their quantum connection. You can do this, Zara. Come back to me. For a moment, it seemed as if she might be lost entirely. But then, Jake felt a spark, a tiny fragment of Zara's consciousness clinging to their shared connection. With all his might, he pulled, drawing that spark back towards reality. The light faded, the alarms fell silent, and the holographic displays showed Earth stabilizing, the crisis averted. At the center of the room, where Zara had stood, there was now only a softly pulsing orb of quantum energy. Jake approached it cautiously, hope and fear warring in his heart. As he reached out to touch the orb, it flared brightly. Zara's form coalesced, different yet unmistakably her. She opened her eyes, now swirling with the depths of the multiverse, and smiled weakly. "Jake," she whispered, "you did it. You brought me back." As they embraced, both forever changed by their ordeal, Jake realized the true nature of his growth. He had learned to make the hard choices, to put the greater good above his personal desires. But he had also learned that love, true love, could transcend even the barriers between realities. Earth was saved, transformed into a beacon of balance in the multiverse. And Jake and Zara, their bond stronger than ever, stood ready to guide humanity into a new era of cosmic exploration and responsibility. The end of their adventure had become a new beginning, not just for them, but for all of Earth and the infinite realities beyond. In the days following the stabilization of Earth and the quantum nexus, the planet underwent a remarkable transformation. The chaotic energies that had warped reality settled into a harmonious balance, creating a world that was at once familiar and utterly new. Jake stood atop a hill overlooking what used to be New York City, now a breathtaking fusion of advanced technology and nature. Gleaming spires of quantum-infused crystal rose from lush forests, their surfaces shimmering with holographic displays. Flying vehicles zipped between the buildings, their propulsion systems leaving no trace of pollution. Zara materialized beside him, her new form still taking some getting used to. Her body now seemed to exist partially in multiple realities at once, giving her an ethereal quality. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" she said, her voice carrying harmonics from other dimensions. Jake nodded, a mix of awe and responsibility weighing on him. "It is. But it's also just the beginning." In the weeks since their climactic choice, news of Earth's transformation had spread across the galaxy. The quarantine that had isolated their planet was lifted, and representatives from countless alien civilizations were arriving daily to witness the miracle of Earth's evolution. Jake's comm device chimed, displaying a message from the newly formed Galactic Council. His presence was requested at a summit to discuss Earth's new role in the cosmic community. As they made their way to the quantum transport hub, Jake and Zara passed through streets teeming with humans and aliens alike. The fear and hostility that had once greeted extraterrestrial visitors was gone, replaced by a sense of wonder and collaboration. Humans, now gifted with enhanced cognitive abilities and a deeper connection to the quantum nature of reality, worked alongside alien scientists to unlock the secrets of the universe. The merging of diverse technologies and perspectives was already yielding incredible advancements in fields ranging from medicine to space exploration. At the transport hub, they encountered a group of former Earth Defense Force officers. Jake tensed, memories of his exile and disgrace flooding back. But to his surprise, the officers saluted him with genuine respect. "Captain Harper," one of them said, stepping forward. "On behalf of the HFY, I want to apologize for the way you were treated. Your actions have not only redeemed your reputation, but have elevated humanity's standing in the galaxy." Jake was momentarily speechless, the weight of his journey hitting him anew. He had gone from disgraced pilot to the savior of not just Earth, but countless realities. "Thank you," he managed, shaking the officer's hand. "But the credit doesn't belong to me alone. It was a team effort, and humanity's willingness to embrace change that made this possible." As they boarded the quantum shuttle that would take them to the Galactic Council's space station, Jake and Zara discussed the challenges that lay ahead. "The Council is eager to learn about the quantum nexus," Zara explained, her multidimensional senses allowing her to perceive the complex political landscape. "Many see Earth as the key to unlocking new levels of technological and spiritual advancement." The shuttle ride was brief, the quantum drive allowing them to traverse vast distances in mere moments. As they approached the space station, Jake gasped at the sight. Hundreds of ships from various alien civilizations surrounded the massive structure, all gathered to witness this historic moment. Inside the council chambers, Jake and Zara were greeted with a standing ovation. Representatives from across the galaxy, some in physical form and others appearing as holograms, had assembled to hear Earth's story and discuss its implications for the future. As Jake stepped up to the podium, he felt the weight of countless worlds resting on his shoulders. But he also felt a sense of hope and purpose that had eluded him for so long. "Distinguished representatives of the galaxy," he began, his voice steady and clear. "Earth stands before you today not as conquerors or saviors, but as partners in a grand cosmic journey. The power of the quantum nexus has shown us the interconnectedness of all realities, the delicate balance that exists between all living things." He went on to describe the dangers they had faced, the difficult choices they had made, and the lessons they had learned. Jake emphasized the need for responsible use of their new abilities and the importance of maintaining cosmic harmony. As he spoke, holographic displays showed images of the transformed Earth, its gleaming cities, its restored natural wonders, and its people working hand in hand with alien visitors to push the boundaries of science and understanding. "We invite you all to join us in this new era of exploration and growth," Jake concluded. "But we also caution against the temptation to use these powers for domination or personal gain. The multiverse is vast and full of wonders, but it is also delicate. Our actions ripple across realities, and we must be mindful of the consequences." The chamber erupted in applause and discussion. Jake could sense that his words had struck a chord, that the assembled representatives understood the magnitude of what Earth had experienced and the responsibility that came with it. As the summit continued, with working groups formed to discuss various aspects of Earth's transformation and its implications for galactic society, Jake found a quiet moment with Zara. "Do you think we did the right thing?" he asked, the enormity of their actions still sinking in. Zara smiled, her multidimensional form shimmering with affection. "I think we did the best we could with the knowledge we had. And now, we have the chance to guide humanity and our galactic neighbors towards a brighter future." Jake nodded, feeling a sense of peace settle over him. His journey of redemption was complete, but a new adventure, one that spanned galaxies and realities, was just beginning. As they turned to rejoin the council discussions, Jake and Zara stood not just as individuals, but as symbols of humanity's potential for growth, wisdom, and cosmic responsibility. The future was uncertain, filled with challenges and wonders beyond imagination. But together, with the power of the quantum nexus and the united efforts of countless civilizations, they were ready to face whatever the multiverse had in store. The story of Earth's transformation had become a saga of galactic proportions, and Jake Harper, once a disgraced pilot, now a beacon of hope, was at the heart of it all. 50 years had passed since Earth's transformation and its reintegration into the galactic community. Jake stood on the observation deck of Nexus Station, a massive space habitat orbiting Earth, watching ships from 100 different worlds come and go through the quantum gateways that now connected their planet to the far reaches of the galaxy. His appearance had changed little thanks to the effects of the quantum nexus, but his eyes held the wisdom of half a century's worth of cosmic diplomacy and exploration. Beside him, Zara's multidimensional form shimmered, her presence a constant reminder of the sacrifices and triumphs that had brought them to this point. "Hard to believe it's been 50 years, Jake mused, his gaze drawn to the gleaming blue-green sphere of Earth below. The planet was now a jewel of the galaxy, its cities shining beacons of quantum technology and ecological harmony. Earth had indeed flourished in the decades following its transformation. The responsible use of quantum technology had solved many of the planet's former crises. Clean energy was abundant, climate change had been reversed, and diseases that once plagued humanity were all but eradicated. Moreover, Earth had become a center of galactic cooperation and scientific advancement. The Quantum Nexus Academy, founded by Jake and Zara, trained individuals from across the galaxy in the ethical use of multiversal energies. Earth's unique position as a nexus point had made it a hub for interdimensional research and exploration. But it hadn't all been smooth sailing. There had been challenges: rogue factions attempting to exploit the power of the nexus, diplomatic crises with civilizations fearful of Earth's newfound abilities, and the ongoing struggle to maintain balance in the face of rapid advancement. As Jake reflected on these thoughts, a young cadet approached them, her uniform bearing the insignia of the galactic peacekeeping force that Jake had helped establish. "Admiral Harper, Ambassador Zara," she said, saluting crisply. "I'm sorry to interrupt, but we've received an urgent communication from the edge of known space. The Council is assembling, and your presence is requested." Jake and Zara exchanged a glance, sensing the weight of what was to come. They followed the cadet to the station's quantum teleportation chamber, their forms dissolving into streams of data as they were instantly transported to the Galactic Council headquarters on Earth. The council chamber was abuzz with activity, holographic displays showing a region of space Jake didn't recognize. As they took their seats, the Arcturian High Chancellor called the meeting to order. "Esteemed colleagues," the Chancellor began, her tentacles waving in agitation, "we have received a transmission from the Andromeda Galaxy. It appears that a quantum anomaly, similar to what Earth experienced 50 years ago, has been detected." Murmurs of concern rippled through the assembly. Jake leaned forward, his interest piqued. "Similar how?" he asked. The Chancellor gestured, and a holographic representation of the anomaly appeared in the center of the chamber. It was a swirling vortex of energy, eerily reminiscent of the early stages of Earth's transformation. "Initial scans suggest that this anomaly is creating a bridge between our reality and something else," the Chancellor explained. "We've detected energy signatures unlike anything in our databases." Zara's form flickered with excitement and apprehension. "A new form of quantum nexus? Or perhaps a naturally occurring phenomenon we haven't encountered before?" As the council debated the implications and potential responses, Jake felt a familiar stirring in his gut, the call to action, to explore the unknown. He caught Zara's eye and saw the same feeling reflected there. "We need to investigate this personally," Jake said, rising to address the council. "Earth's experience with the quantum nexus puts us in a unique position to understand and potentially contain this anomaly if necessary." There were nods of agreement around the chamber. Earth's handling of its own transformation had earned it the trust and respect of the galactic community. As the meeting concluded and preparations for an expedition began, Jake and Zara found a moment alone. "What do you think we'll find out there?" Jake asked, a mix of excitement and trepidation in his voice. Zara's multidimensional form shimmered with possibilities. "I'm not sure, but I sense this is bigger than anything we've faced before. The multiverse is vast, Jake, and I have a feeling we've only scratched the surface of its mysteries." As they gazed out at the star-filled sky, a sense of anticipation filled them both. The anomaly in Andromeda represented not just a new scientific frontier, but potentially a new chapter in the story of cosmic evolution. Jake couldn't help but smile. 50 years ago, he had been a disgraced pilot seeking redemption. Now, he stood at the threshold of an adventure that spanned galaxies and realities. "Well," he said, squeezing Zara's hand, "I guess we better start packing. Looks like our retirement will have to wait a bit longer." Zara laughed, the sound rippling across dimensions. "With you, my love, every day is an adventure. Shall we see what the multiverse has in store for us next?" As they turned to leave, neither Jake nor Zara noticed the subtle shift in the quantum energies around them. In the depths of space, beyond the reach of even Earth's advanced sensors, something stirred. The anomaly in Andromeda was not just a scientific curiosity, it was a harbinger of changes that would shake the very foundations of reality. The next chapter of their cosmic saga was about to begin, and the fate of not just Earth, but the entire multiverse once again hung in the balance. Little did they know, the greatest challenge of their lives was yet to come, and the true purpose of the quantum nexus was about to be revealed.